I started my first shift as a nanny in a huge mansion in the suburbs of Greenwich, Connecticut. But the father gave me 2 keys, one for the ornate gold front door and another, smaller, rusty, strangely heavy in my palm, for the basement room, in case the children ask. That second key should have warned me. I should have left it on the table. I should have walked away. My name is Dagny Merrick, 22 years old, fresh out of college with a degree in child psychology and student loans that suffocated me more than anything else in my life. And on that Friday, March 15th, 2024, when the Care First Elite babysitting agency called me with a last-minute offer, premium client, pays triple the standard rate tonight only, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. I said yes before she even finished her sentence. $300 for 10 hours. It was more than I earned in an entire week at my part-time job at the coffee shop. The client is Mr. Evander Strand, said the coordinator Saffron in a professional voice she had perfected. Widower, 2 children, 7-year-old boy and 4-year-old girl, excellent references, beautiful home. Only needs night coverage because he has a work event. Very last minute but desperate and willing to pay premium. Why so last minute? I asked, trying not to sound too eager even though I desperately needed the money. His regular nanny canceled. Family emergency. You're our best available in the Fairfield County area. Can you be there at 8? Yes, definitely. He gave me the address. 1847 Magnolia Lane, Greenwich, where houses started at $3 million and went up from there. I arrived at 7:50 p.m., 10 minutes early. I was always early. First impressions mattered. The house was God. It was a mansion, 3 stories, colonial style with white columns, perfectly manicured lawn, even in March, circular driveway with a fountain in the center. Not working due to the season, but impressive, nonetheless. I parked my beat-up Honda Civic, immediately feeling out of place, like an intruder in a world that didn't belong to me. The door opened before I rang the bell. A man, 40-something, tall, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my 2 months' rent, greeted me with a smile that was professional but not warm, like a CEO greeting a temporary employee. Dagny, I'm Evander Strand. Thank you for coming on such short notice. No problem. Happy to help. He let me in. The interior was more impressive than the exterior. Marble floors, curved staircase, crystal chandelier hanging 3 stories above, art on the walls that looked real, not reproductions, but original paintings in gilded frames. The children are upstairs, he said, leading the way. Caspian is 7. Nefili has 4. They've both had dinner. Caspian has to be in bed by 9. Nefili by 8:30. They're good kids. Obedient. You shouldn't have any problems. Understood. The kitchen has everything you need. The fridge is fully stocked. The Wi-Fi is strand secure. The password is on a note above the counter. He spoke quickly, efficiently. A man accustomed to delegating. My number is there too. Call if there's an emergency. But honestly, there are never any emergencies. The kids sleep through the night. We went upstairs. Long hallway with doors on both sides. He showed me Caspian's bedroom. Blue walls. Shelves full of Legos and books. Boy sitting on bed with Harry Potter book. Caspian, this is Dagny. She's going to take care of you tonight while Dad is at his event. Hello, said the boy, in a soft voice, almost shy. He looked at me briefly, then went back to his book. Hi, Caspian, what are you reading? Prisoner of Azkaban. Excellent choice. That's my favorite in the series. Small smile. Good. Connection made. The next room belonged to Nefili. Pink walls. Dolls everywhere. Little girl in princess pajamas already in bed with sleepy eyes. Nefili, this is Dagny. Hello, she whispered, almost inaudible. Hi, sweetie. Pretty princesses. She hugged her doll closer. Evander checked his watch. Rolex. Obvious even to my untrained eyes. I need to go. Event starts at 8:30. I'll be back around 2 a.m. Maybe 3 at the latest. No problem. Ah, One more thing. He reached into his pocket, taking out 2 keys on a keychain. This one, lifting the shiny gold one, is for the front door, in case you need to go out or whatever. Okay. And this one, lifting the smaller darkened one, is for the basement. The basement. Yes. The kids sometimes ask about it. They like to explore, but the basement has expensive equipment. HVAC system. Things I don't want them to touch, so if they ask, just tell them you have the key, but they can't go down there. Understood? Yes, of course. He handed me both keys. The basement key felt strange, heavier than expected, or maybe it was my imagination. Perfect. My number's below. Any problems, call. She kissed both children on the forehead. Behave yourselves. I love you. And she left. I heard her footsteps going down the stairs, the front door opening, closing, car engine starting, driving away. And then, silence. Except for Nafale's soft breathing, already almost asleep. I spent the next hour and a half putting the kids to bed. Nafale fell asleep quickly. 8:20 p.m., she didn't even need a story. Caspian read until 8:50, then turned off his light without me having to remind him. "Good night, Dagny," he said. "Good night, Caspian. I'll be downstairs if you need anything." "Okay." I closed his door, leaving it slightly ajar, as their parents always preferred. I went downstairs. The house was silent now, enormous. Every sound, the creak of my shoes on marble, the hum of the refrigerator, the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway, amplified in the silence. The kitchen was a chef's dream. Stainless steel appliances, a granite island, cabinets that probably contained dishes that cost more than my car. I found the note Evander had mentioned, Wi-Fi, password, his number, emergency numbers. I settled into the sofa in the family room adjacent to the kitchen, a more casual area than the formal living room in the front, with a big TV, Netflix already open on the main menu. I put on an episode of the show I had been watching. A light comedy, nothing that required serious attention. I kept the volume low, listening for the kids upstairs. Around 10 p.m., I paused the show, went upstairs, checked both bedrooms, both kids fast asleep, breathing evenly. Peaceful. Went back downstairs, made tea, resumed the show, starting to relax. This was easy. $300 for basically sitting in a mansion watching TV while kids slept. Best job in the world. At 11:30 p.m., my stomach growled. I hadn't had dinner, too rushed to get there on time. I opened the refrigerator, fully stocked as promised, leftovers that looked gourmet, fresh ingredients. I decided to make a simple sandwich. I didn't want to use anything too expensive or specific. I ate at the counter, checking my phone, messages from my roommate asking how it was going. I replied, "Super easy, kids asleep. Amazing house, paying me $300. She replied, "Jackpot. Go rich, haha." I laughed. Yes, jackpot. For one night at least. Around midnight, I decided to walk around the house, explore a little. Just the first floor. I didn't want to go upstairs and potentially wake the kids. The formal living room was a museum, furniture that looked antique. More art. Family photos in silver frames on the mantelpiece. A younger Evander with a beautiful woman, his late wife, I assumed, and the kids as babies. Happy, normal, tragic that she had died. I didn't know how. Evander hadn't mentioned it, and it would be rude to ask. The office had books from floor to ceiling, a mahogany desk with a closed laptop, filing cabinets. Nothing that particularly interested me. The formal dining room could easily seat 12. The chandelier above the long table sparkled even without direct light. And then, the basement door. In the hallway off the kitchen, solid wood door with a visible lock. The one that matched the rusty key in my pocket. I stopped in front of it. Why was it locked, if it only contained HVAC and equipment? Why did it need a specific key? In case the kids ask, Evander had said. But why would they ask? How often did children ask to explore basements? I reached for the knob, testing it. Locked. Of course. That's why he gave me the key. Something. Instinct, perhaps, made me feel uncomfortable about that door, about the way Evander had mentioned it. Casual but specific, as if he wanted me to think about it. I walked away, back to the family room, to my show, but I couldn't concentrate. I kept thinking about the door, about the key, about how strange the whole situation was. At 12:17 a.m., I heard it. Click, the sound of a lock turning, from the basement door. I froze, blood running cold, every muscle tense. It wasn't the creaking of an old house, it wasn't the wind, it was a specific click, deliberate, of a lock being opened from the inside. Impossible, I whispered. No one is down there. But the sound had been real, unmistakable. I paused the show, getting up, moving quietly toward the hallway. The basement door was ajar, barely, maybe 2 inches, enough to see. Darkness, stairs descending. My breathing quickened, heart pounding, because I hadn't opened it. It was locked, and the key was in my pocket. I checked, feeling for the bulge through my jeans. So, how? Hello? My voice sounded small, shaky. Is anyone there? Silence. I should. What should I do? Call Evander, call the police, go down to check. Going down seemed stupid. All the horror movies screamed not to go down. But this was real, and I needed to know. I took out my phone, turned on the flashlight, the beam cutting through the darkness of the basement. If anyone's there, the police are on their way. A lie, but maybe it would deter them. Nothing, just my own breathing, my own heartbeat. I pushed the door wider, all the way open. The stairs were steep, wooden, no railing, descending too. I couldn't see everything from here. I started down, slowly, each step creaking, announcing my descent. The phone flashlight revealed a finished basement, not just bare HVAC, but actual space, with carpet, paneled walls, and in the center, a table, with a chair, and on the wall, a corkboard, with things pinned to it. I approached, phone trembling in my hand, illuminating, photos printed in color of me, my face, from my LinkedIn profile, from my social media, Instagram, Facebook, photos I had posted of me, enlarged, printed, pinned to the board, and not just photos, notes, handwritten, in neat masculine handwriting. Dagny Merrick, 22, child psychology, University of Connecticut. Lives, apartment in Norwalk. Roommate, Isolde Chen. Car, 2015 Honda Civic, license plate 847YHG. Works, Moonbeam Cafe, part-time. Insurance, Care First Elite, member since January 2024. And more, much more, a timeline of my movements, of my life, including. March 15th, arrives 7:50 p.m., eats dinner around 10 p.m., checks on children, 11 p.m., explores house after midnight. Today, tonight. He had predicted everything accurately. Terror rose in my throat like vomit, because this meant he had been watching me, not just tonight, but before, preparing, planning, this. Oh God, oh God, oh God. I needed to get out, now. Take the kids, get out, call the police. I turned, toward the stairs, but light, upstairs, in the kitchen. Someone had just turned on the light, and footsteps, heavy, on the marble floor. Approaching the basement, Evander. He had returned, early, much earlier than promised. Dagny, his voice from above, calm, controlled. I know you saw him. I pressed myself against the wall, next to the counter, in the shadows, as if that would hide me. You don't need to be scared, I can explain. His footsteps, on the stairs, coming down, slowly, deliberately. You see, I've been waiting for the right one. You've been careful, online. Not much public information, but enough. Enough to know that you're perfect. Perfect for what? My voice barely worked. For my family. For my children. They need a mother. And you, young, educated, kind, exactly what they need. You're crazy. Let me go. I can't do that. You've seen. You know. And if you leave, you'll call the police. You'll ruin everything. You'll ruin my children. He reached the bottom of the stairs, turning, looking at me, with a smile that was completely insane disguised as rational. But if you stay, willingly, we can be a family. I've thought it all through. You'll move in, here, with us. You'll take care of the children. You'll be their new mom. And I'll take care of you. I'll protect you. I'll love you. That's not love. It's kidnapping. It's madness. It's not madness if it works. And it will work. The children already love you. Caspian told you his favorite book. Nefeli showed you her princesses. They accept you. We just need time for you to accept me. He moved closer. I backed away, but I was already against the wall. No space. Don't touch me. I swear I'll scream. I'll wake the children. Go ahead. Screaming will only scare them. And you don't want to scare them, right? Because you're a good person. Kind. You wouldn't hurt children. He was right. Damn it. He was right. Waking the children, scaring them. Would he use them against me? As shields? As weapons? Just let me go. I won't say anything, I promise. Lies. Of course you will. It's natural. It's what anyone would do. I don't blame you, but I can't take any chances, not when I'm this close. His hand reached out, toward my arm. I hit him, hard. With my phone, connecting with his wrist, he growled, backing away. That hurt. I didn't wait. I ran, toward the stairs, climbing, stumbling, but moving. Behind me, his footsteps, heavy, fast, chasing. I reached the kitchen, running toward the front door. But I remembered. Key. I needed the golden key. It was on me. Pocket. I searched frantically. As Evander emerged from the basement, 10 meters behind, closing in, I found the key, pulling, running toward the door, but then crying. From above, children, awoken by noise, by screams. Dagny. Caspian's voice, frightened. What's going on? Daddy. Nefel. Sobbing. Evander stopped, his expression changing, from predatory determination to concerned father, as if a switch had been flipped. Kids, go back to bed. Everything's fine. Why is Dagny running? Caspian at the top of the stairs, in his pajamas, eyes wide with fear. She had a nightmare. She's confused, but Daddy's going to help her. No, I shouted. Kids, listen, your dad. I need to take you. You need to come with me now. What? Caspian confused. Why? Because he isn't safe. Dagny is sick, Evander said. Calm, soft, voice of reason. He's having a mental episode. These happen. I understand. I have medication that can help. I'm not having an episode. He has a board over me in the basement. He's been stalking me. A board. Caspian took a step back. What kind of board? Caspian, go back to your room. Order now. From Evander, not suggestion. Don't listen to him. Desperate. I needed him to believe me. Please, trust me, we need to leave. But how? How to make a 7-year-old believe a stranger about his father? Impossible. Especially with Evander there. Controlling narrative. Nefeli now coming down too. Holding onto the railing, crying. What's wrong? What's wrong? Decision difficult, horrible, but necessary. I couldn't take the children. They wouldn't cooperate, and Evander would use them as shields, as reasons for me to stay. I could only save myself. I'm sorry, I whispered, to the children, to myself, to whoever was listening. I turned the key in the lock. Opening the door, Evander moved, fast, surprisingly fast, reaching me, hand grabbing my jacket. I spun, kicking, connecting with his shin. He cursed, loosening his grip. I ran out the door, to the porch, into the cold March night. It was raining. When had it started raining? It didn't matter. I ran to my car, gravel crunching under my feet, rain soaking me instantly. Behind me, Evander in the doorway. "Come back. You don't understand. This is for your own good." I reached my car, hands shaking. Car keys. Where? Purse. In the house. On the couch. Shit. "You can't leave." He was coming down the porch steps, in the rain, getting closer. I ran, toward the street. There were no other cars. It was midnight in a suburban neighborhood. Everyone asleep, no one to help. Light, ahead. 1 block away. House with lights on, people awake. I ran toward it, slipping on the wet sidewalk, recovering, moving. "Dagney," Evander's voice, more distant now. "I have your address. I know where you live. You can't hide." The words chilled me, more than the rain. Because they were true. He knew. All my information, my address, my car, my job, my life. I reached the house with lights on, banging on the door, frantically. "Please, help. Someone is chasing me." Door opening. Older woman, 60s, in a robe, looking at me with alarm. "What in the... Please call the police. Man trying to attack me. From the house down the street." She looked past me, toward the street, where Evander was, standing, under a streetlight, watching. Then, slowly, he turned, walking back toward his house, resigned, knowing that tonight, at least, he wouldn't win. Come in. She pulled me in, closing the door. "I'll call. Are you hurt?" "No, but God, he has all my information. He knows where I live." "Who is he?" "Evander Strand, from 1847 Magnolia. I was babysitting and I found a board in his basement with photos of me stalking me, planning. I don't know what he was planning, but something." The police arrived in 8 minutes. 2 patrol cars, officers taking statements, looking at my terror, my soaked clothes, my story that sounded crazy, but true. They went to the Strand house. They found Evander, calm, cooperative, the children crying, confused, scared. And when they went down to the basement, with his permission, they found nothing. The board had been removed, cleaned, stored, God knows where. There was no board, the officer reported. Just a finished basement, empty. Mr. Strand says the nanny had an episode, maybe drugs, psychosis. "I'm not on drugs. I'm not psychotic. I was there. I saw the photos, the notes." "Miss Merrick, did you take anything tonight? Medication? Alcohol?" "No, only tea. That I made. From his kitchen." Pause. Exchange of glances between officers. "He made the tea?" "No, I did, but wait. Do you think he drugged me?" "It's possible." It would explain. Hallucinations. They weren't hallucinations, but without evidence, without a board, without photos. It was my word against his, and he was a respectable man, a widowed father, a businessman, with a multi-million-dollar home, impeccable references, and I was a 22-year-old nanny, with debts, no history, claiming he had harassed me without proof. "We're going to investigate," they promised. "But until then, we suggest you avoid contact with Mr. Strand and maybe consult a doctor, just to be sure." They didn't press charges against either of us, against him for harassment without evidence, against me for, I don't know, hysteria. I guess it's hard to charge for that. Care First Elite called me on Saturday, terminating my contract. Mr. Strand filed a formal complaint, erratic behavior. We can't risk our reputation. But he harassed me. He has a board. No evidence, and he has lawyers, good ones, who suggested I let it go, unless I want, to sue for defamation. I didn't have the money to sue, not even to consult a lawyer, so I let it go, officially. But I didn't let it go, because he was right. He had my address. And 3 days later, on Tuesday, I found an envelope slipped under my door. Inside was a photo of me leaving my apartment that morning, taken from a car on the street, and a note. "I see you. I always see you. Someday, when you're ready, you'll come home, where you belong, with your family. I'll be waiting for you. Dad. I called the police. Again. They showed up. They took a report. But the photo didn't show who took it. The note had no fingerprints. Or it did, but it didn't result in anything actionable. We would suggest a restraining order, but you need proof of ongoing harassment. A photo, a note, it's not enough. So what do I do? Be alert, report any contact, document everything. I moved, a week later, to a new apartment, in a different city. Danbury instead of Norwalk. I didn't tell anyone my address except my immediate family. I deleted my social media accounts. I made myself invisible. As invisible as possible in the digital age. And for 3 months, nothing. No photos, no notes, no Evander. I started to think. Maybe he gave up. Maybe he found someone else. Maybe. Then, June, new job, coffee shop in Danbury. My first day. I arrived early, opening up, and on the counter, an envelope with my name on it, inside. A photo of me walking into this cafe yesterday during my interview, and a note. New city, new job, but not a new family. We miss you. The kids ask about you, especially Caspian. He says you were his favorite nanny, that you read Harry Potter like no one else. Come home. Please, don't make me come looking for you. Dad. And there it is, the horror that continues, knowing that no matter where I go, no matter how careful I am, he finds me. He always finds me. Because he has resources, time. An obsession that won't let up, and every door I open, every envelope I see, every stranger who stares at me too long, I wonder, is it him? Is it his eyes? Is it time for him to fulfill his promise to come for me? And the 2 keys. I still have them. The gold one for the front door, the rusty one for the basement. I forgot to return them in the panic of that night. And now, I can't get rid of them, because they're evidence, proof that I was there, proof that it all happened, even though no one but me seems to believe it. And every time I hold them, I feel them, heavy in my palm. I remember. The board, the photos, the notes written in neat handwriting documenting every detail of my life, and her voice, calm, rational, completely insane, saying, "You will be part of my family, willingly or not, because you are perfect. And what is perfect is not let go." And I know, with bone-chilling certainty, that someday, no matter how careful I am, no matter where I hide, he will come, for his perfect one, for his chosen one, for the mother he decided his children need. And when he comes, no police will believe, no evidence will remain. There will be no escape, only the 2 keys, the golden one to enter, and the rusty one for the basement, where secrets are kept, and where new secrets, women who said no, who ran, who tried to escape, eventually end up. The children showed me a magic teddy bear that recorded voices during my 3rd shift, babysitting at their home in Westchester, New York. But when I played it back that night, after their parents went out to dinner, I heard my own laughter, clear, recognizable, mixed with a deep adult male voice whispering, "Shh, come here," that I definitely didn't recognize. And that was the moment I knew something was deeply, horribly wrong. My name is Saffron Crane, 24 years old, working as a professional nanny in the New York City area while saving for graduate school, a social work program that would cost me a fortune, but that I needed for the career I wanted. And when the Elite Care Nannies Agency assigned me to the Strand family in February 2024, I thought I'd won the lottery. 2 children, 6-year-old Thessaly and 8-year-old Quillen, in a beautiful Tudor-style home, with parents who paid $20 an hour, double the standard rate. The Strands are premium clients, my coordinator Azolda had told me, demanding but fair. If they like you, you could have permanent work. I met Oberon and Nephili Strand at my first interview. He was an executive at an investment firm. She handled personal business that she never fully specified. Both were in their 40s, with the neatness of wealthy people, expensive clothes that looked casual, perfect hair, practiced smiles. The house was a museum of good taste, dark wood floors, modern art on the walls, a kitchen that probably cost more than my entire college education. Children need structure, Nefele had told me during the interview, her voice soft but firm. Specific routines, timely chores, clear boundaries. We are very particular about their upbringing. Of course, I completely understand. In privacy, Oberon added, his gaze lingering on me a second longer than was comfortable. What happens in this house stays in this house. Our children's lives are not for social media. Is that clear? Absolutely. I would never post about the children. Or about us, or about the house. Don't even mention where you work specifically. Privacy is essential for our family. In hindsight, I should have seen the warning sign, but at the time it just seemed like normal parental protection. Rich people being cautious, not sinister, just careful. My third shift was Friday, February 16th. The Strands had dinner with clients, important event, fancy clothes. They would leave around 7 p.m. and return around midnight. My job was simple. Feed the kids dinner, supervise homework, playtime, bedtime routine at 9 p.m. Thessaly has a new toy, Nefele said as she put on diamond earrings in front of the hallway mirror. A teddy bear that records. She loves it. She'll probably show it to you 1,000 times. Sounds adorable. Just, if it records anything inappropriate, delete it. Kids sometimes say. Things that we don't want preserved. Sure, no problem. Oberon came downstairs in his dark suit, adjusting his cufflinks. The Wi-Fi code is on the fridge if you need it. And Saffron. Your phone. My phone. We like nannies to keep phones in their bags during active hours with the kids. Present. Engaged. Not distracted by screens. Oh, yes, that makes sense. Although I found it strange. Most families wanted you to have your phone nearby for emergencies, but these were their rules. I put my iPhone in my bag and left it in the hallway closet as instructed. The Strands left at 7:05 p.m. with final reminders. Don't forget Quillen's allergy medicine before bed, and Thessaly can have a cookie after dinner, just one. And then the house was mine. Well, mine and the kids. Thessaly found me immediately, huge teddy bear, almost her size, pressed against her chest. Look, it's Mr. Recorder. He can remember everything I say. The bear was. Unnervingly realistic. Soft fur that looked real. Glass eyes that sparkled. And on its paw, a small red button. And on the other side, a green button. How does it work? I asked, kneeling down to her level. You press the red one and talk. And you press the green one and it repeats you. She demonstrated, pressing the red button. Hi, I'm Thessaly, and I'm 6 years old. She released the button, then she pressed the green one. The bear spoke. In Thessaly's voice, slightly distorted but clear. Hi, I'm Thessaly, and I'm 6 years old. Wow, that's cool. It records everything, like magic. She pressed the red button again. Saffron is my favorite babysitter. Green button. Playback. Saffron is my favorite babysitter. I laughed. Thank you, sweetie. You're my favorite too. Quillen rolled his eyes. It's not magic. It's just technology. Dad says it has a memory chip. It can store like 100 hours. 100 hours? That's a lot. Yeah. And you can rewind. And fast forward. Like an audio player. He showed me. Little extra buttons on the back of the bear. Rewind. Fast forward. Play. Pause. Delete. Awesome. Where did you get it? Dad brought it. He said it was special just for us. We spent the afternoon playing. The kids wanted to record everything. Their voices singing, telling jokes, making silly sound effects. I joined in laughing, being silly. The bear capturing it all with its magic buttons. Dinner at 6:30 p.m. Pasta with marinara sauce. Broccoli that Thessaly protested but eventually ate, and the promised cookie. Homework afterward. math for Quillen, reading practice for Thessaly, playtime, more recordings with the bear, video games for Quillen, dolls for Thessaly. At 8:30 p.m., I began the bedtime routine, baths, pajamas, brushing teeth. Thessaly insisted on taking Mr. Recorder to bed with her. "Tell a story," she asked me, "and record it, so I can listen to it tomorrow." "What kind of story?" "Princess, with a dragon." I made up a story about a brave princess who befriended a dragon instead of fighting it. Thessaly pressed the red button throughout the narration. When I finished, she pressed the green button, and my voice, narrative, acted out with different voices for each character, filled the room. Perfect. Thessaly hugged the bear. "Now I can listen to it forever." "Sweet dreams, sweetie." Quillen was easier. He read for only 30 minutes, then turned off his light. "Good night, Saffron." "Good night, Quillen." By 9:15 p.m. they were both asleep. The house settled into a silence that was almost too deep. No street noise, no neighbors, just the tick of a clock somewhere and the occasional hum of the HVAC system. I settled into the family room with my laptop. I had an essay for my online class that I needed to finish, but after 30 minutes of staring at the screen without writing anything, I admitted that I was too tired. It had been a long week. I closed my laptop. I turned on Netflix on the big TV, an episode of the show I had been watching, a crime thriller, appropriately. I sank into the leather sofa with a blanket, half watching, half dozing. Around 10:30 p.m., something woke me up. I had started to nod off, but a sound, a small click, alerted me. I looked around. Nothing seemed out of place. The TV was still playing. The house was still quiet. Then I heard it. From upstairs, from Thessaly's bedroom. A voice, my voice, saying, "Saffron is my favorite babysitter." The bear. It had turned itself on, playing. Thessaly had probably rolled over on it, accidentally pressing the button in her sleep. It happens with toys. I waited, listening. It should stop after that recording, but it continued. Great. My voice again. A snippet from when I had spoken earlier. Then, different. A voice I didn't recognize. Male, deep, whispering. "Shh, come here." I sat up straight, heart racing. What was that? Who was that? The recording continued. More fragments. My laughter. From this afternoon. Then a child's voice. Quillen saying something about technology. Then again, the male voice. "Don't tell anyone." Ice in my veins, because that voice. It wasn't Oberon. I knew his voice. Deep, but with a different quality. This was. Someone else, younger, with an accent I couldn't place. I got up, climbing the stairs, silently, toward Thessaly's bedroom. The door was ajar. I peeked in, Thessaly asleep, curled up with the bear that was still playing, now my voice singing something, then static, then beautiful. The male voice. Perfect. I went in, moving toward the bed, reaching for the bear, pressing pause. Silence, except for Thessaly's soft breathing. I picked up the bear, carefully removing it from her arms. She murmured, but didn't wake up. I took the bear downstairs, to the family room, under better light. I needed to understand what was in this bear, where those voices came from. I pressed rewind. The bear hummed softly, then play, my voice, from hours ago. Impressive. Where did you get it? Quillen's voice. Dad brought it. Normal. Expected. I rewound further. Play. More of our afternoon. Laughter, games, dinner. I kept rewinding. Minutes. 10 minutes of recording flying by. Then, different voice. Female. Not Thessaly. More adult. Young adult. I don't understand why they need to record everything. Another voice. Also female. Different. Because they're weird. Rich weirdos, but they pay well. Conversation between two women. Previous nannies. I rewound further. Play. More of the same voices talking about the strands, about the children, about, did you notice the cameras? In the bedrooms. Everywhere. I thought they were just for security, but they record everything. Everything. My stomach clenched. Cameras. Recording everything. I looked around the family room, searching. Where would they be? Smoke detectors, corners of the ceiling, behind picture frames. I kept rewinding. More conversations. Nannies comparing notes, warnings. They check your phone. What? When you leave it in the closet. They hack it. That's illegal. They don't care. Don't tell anyone. Terror rising now. Real. Visceral. Because my phone. It was in my bag. In the closet. Where I left it when I got home. Then. The male voice again. The one I had heard originally. Beautiful. Pause. Perfect. Pause. Alone in the house. It wasn't Oberon. I was sure of that now. This was someone else. Someone who had been here. Talking. While another babysitter was working. Come here, the voice continued. To my office. No, Babysitter's voice. Scared. You're not leaving until... Click. The recording cut off. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God, oh God, I needed my phone. I needed to get out. Now, I got up. Teddy bear still in my hands, moving toward the hallway, toward the closet. And then, car lights, through the front windows, sweeping the walls. The strands, back. But it was only 10:47 p.m. They said midnight. Why early? Panic. Pure. Because if they saw me with the bear, if they knew I had heard. I ran back to the family room, leaving the bear on the couch, trying to act normal. Front door opening, voices, Nafeel laughing about something, Oberon responding. I went into the kitchen, pretending to make tea, as if I had just come downstairs for a drink. Saffron. Nafeli came in, still wearing her elegant dress, a smile on her face, but her eyes scanned me, assessed me. How was the evening? Excellent. The children were perfect, asleep by 9. Any problems? None. Everything was quiet. And the bear? The question was casual, but with an edge. Did Thessaly play with it? Yes. We recorded stories. She fell asleep with it. Nafeel moved toward the family room. I followed her, my heart pounding. She saw the bear on the sofa. Why is it here? It activated on its own, around 10:30. The playback woke her up. I didn't want it to disturb Thessaly, so I brought it downstairs to turn it off. I see. She picked up the bear, pressed a button, checked it. Did you listen to the recordings? Just fragments. From today. Of us playing. Nothing else? Should there be anything else? His eyes narrowed, slightly, assessing whether he was lying. Oberon entered, remote control in his hand. Not a TV remote, though. Something smaller, with a digital display, looking at it, then at me. Saffron, we need to talk. About what? About privacy, and curiosity, and boundaries. My blood ran cold. They knew. They knew I had rewound, listened. I don't understand. The bear, Nefeli said, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. It's to keep an eye on you. Well, not just to keep an eye on you, it's for quality assurance. We like to know what our nannies say, do, when we think we're not listening. It's our right, Oberon added. Our house, our children, our right to monitor who's in charge. But hacking my phone... Oh. Nefele laughed, a humorless sound. So, you did listen to the other recordings, the warnings from previous nannies. They had no right to warn you, Oberon said. That's why they no longer work here, because they spoke out of turn. They violated confidentiality. This is illegal. You can't. We can. Oberon raised the remote control, and we do. Regularly, in fact. He pressed a button. Voice. My voice. From the speaker on the remote. Not the bear, but a different recording. Clearer. Damn. Isolde, this family pays amazingly well, but there's something weird about them. My voice. My conversation. From the phone. From a call I had made 2 days ago. To my friend. Weird how, Isolde's voice. Too controlling, too specific. Like, I don't know, like they want to micromanage every second. Oberon paused the playback. Interesting assessment. Considering our only crime is wanting the best for our children. How do you have that? How? Your phone. We install spyware when you leave it in the closet. Here, 30 seconds. We access calls, messages, location, everything for security. For control, my voice rising. For surveillance. Potato. Nephilim shrugged. The point is, we know everything. And now that you know, that we know, we have a problem. What kind of problem? The kind where you decide to leave quietly with a generous bonus payment. Oberon pulled an envelope from the inside pocket of his suit. $500. Cash for your silence, for forgetting what you saw, heard, experienced. Or, Nephilim moved closer. Too close, invading personal space. We make sure no one ever hires you as a nanny again. Terrible references. Rumors about inappropriate behavior. Maybe even charges. Theft. It's easy to plant evidence. A missing necklace. A wallet. Are you blackmailing me? We're protecting you from doing something stupid, like going to the police or talking to the agency. Because if you do that, Oberon pressed another button, another recording, my voice, different conversation, with my roommate Dagny. I honestly considered taking some of the books they have, first editions, worth a fortune. No, Dagny's voice. I'm joking, obviously, but can you imagine? She paused. That conversation, taken out of context, sounds like an admission, doesn't it? It was a joke. I would never... We know, but would the police know? Would a jury? The terror was complete. Absolute. Because they were right. They had recordings, taken out of context, edited. That could make me look like anything. I just want to leave, now. Perfect. Oberon held out the envelope. Here, forget it. Get on with your life. I reached for it, but Nephilim intercepted. Wait. One more thing. Your phone. We need to clean it, remove the spyware, leave everything pristine, as if we had never been there. It's in my bag. Go get it. I went to the closet. My hands were shaking. I grabbed my bag. I took out my phone. I came back. Oberon took it. He connected a cable to a laptop he had brought from somewhere. This will take 5 minutes. Then you can go. 5 minutes, the longest of my life, standing there, while they worked, while Nephilim smiled that fake smile, while Oberon typed, while my phone, my privacy, was violated even further. Done. He handed it back to me. Clean. No trackers, no spyware. Like new. Now. Nephilim handed me the envelope. Go. And remember, silence or consequences. I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I took the money. I took my bag. I moved toward the door. But then, I thought, the children, upstairs, sleeping, innocent, with parents who did this, who hacked, who spied, who blackmailed. What else were they doing? To the children, to other nannies. The male voice in the bear. Come here. To my office. The frightened nanny. The cut recording. What had happened? Whose voice was that? Did Oberon have a brother, a partner, a friend? I needed help for the children. Somehow, I turned toward the stairs. The children. Let me say goodbye. No. Oberon blocked me. You're leaving. Now. I just want to... We said now. His voice was harsh. No negotiation, but I couldn't. I couldn't leave without trying something. I ran toward the stairs, climbing quickly. Saffron. Nephilim behind me, heavy footsteps chasing. I reached Thessaly's bedroom, opening the door. The girl still asleep, peaceful. Thessaly. I shook her gently. Honey, wake up. Eyes opening, confused. Saffron. Listen, if anyone ever scares you, or does something to you that makes you feel bad, call 911, okay? Promise me. What? Why? Hands grabbed me from behind, pulling. Nafil, with surprising strength. Get out. Now. Or we'll call the police for trespassing, for alarming our daughter. I'm not. Get out. She dragged me down the hall, Oberon waiting, with an expression that was pure rage. That was a mistake, he said. A big one. Struggling now, trying to break free. But Nephili had a steel grip, down the stairs, me stumbling, almost falling. I needed to get out. Different route. They couldn't control everything. Service stairs. I'd seen them, in the kitchen, down to the garage. I twisted, violently, elbow connecting with Nephili's ribs. She gasped, loosened her grip. I ran, toward the kitchen, toward the door to the service stairs. Behind me, both of them, yelling. Stop, you can't. I opened the door, narrow stairs descending. Dark, I went down, stumbling, holding onto the railing. The garage, large, with 3 cars, my Civic at the end. I ran toward it. Keys. Where were my keys? Bag. I searched. I found them. Engine starting. Thank God. Garage door. I needed to open it. Button. There. On the wall, too far away. Remote control. In the visor. Thank you, modern technology. I pressed it. Door going up. Slowly. Painfully slow. Oberon and Nephili emerging from the service stairs, running toward my car. I accelerated, in reverse, tire screeching, door still going up, just enough, barely enough. I got out, scraping the roof of my car against the partially open door. I didn't care. The street, clear. I drove, fast, out of the neighborhood, toward the main road. Their voices, in my mind, recorded, playing on an endless loop. To watch you, we know everything, silence or consequences. And the other voice, the male voice, the unknown voice. Come here. Beautiful. Perfect. Who was he? What had he done? How many babysitters? I drove to the police station, entering, shaking, trying to explain. But what did I have? No evidence. The bear still in the house. My phone cleaned. Just my word against theirs. Rich family, respected, with lawyers. Do you have recordings? Asked the officer. Proof of hacking? No, they deleted everything. Then how do we know? Because I lived through it. Because they threatened me. They took a report. They said they would investigate, but I could see it in their eyes. Skepticism. Believing I was a disgruntled nanny, exaggerating, making things up. Child Protective Services was different when I called. Explaining concerns about the children, about surveillance, about the environment. They visited. The Strands, who, of course, denied everything, showed a perfect home, happy children, no teddy bear with a tape recorder. We don't know what you're talking about. We never had such a toy. Cameras, asked the social worker. Just standard security, outside, like any house. Case closed. Insufficient evidence of danger. And me, branded as a problematic nanny. The agency let me go. The Strands filed a complaint. Erratic behavior, unfounded allegations. We can't risk our reputation. But it's true. No proof. Sorry. $500, still in the envelope. Bloodied. With my dignity, my career, my peace of mind. 'Cause now, every time I use my phone, I wonder, is it really clean? Or did they leave something? A tracker? A back door? Every time I drive through Westchester, driving to another job, cafe now, not nanny, I look at big houses, wondering, how many families do this? How many spy, record, control, and the children, Thessaly and Quillen, growing up in that house, with those parents, with that constant surveillance? What is it doing to them? What will it do to them? And the voice in the bear, the unknown man, does he still come? To the house, to the office, inviting nannies, doing. What? I don't know. I'll never know, because I have no evidence. I have no proof, only memory. Of that night, of children showing me a magical bear, of innocent laughter mixed with dark voices, of discovering that privacy is an illusion, that trust is a weapon, that surveillance is love in the twisted minds of people who believe that control equals protection. And every night, when I try to sleep, I hear fragments etched into my mind more permanently than any technology could achieve. My own laughter, choppy, distorted, mixed with whispers I can't forget. Shh, come here. And I know, with cold certainty, that somewhere, in that house, in that basement, or office, or wherever, there are more recordings of babysitters who didn't escape, who went to the office, who said yes when they should have said no, or who said no, and something worse happened, and their voices, they're there, in teddy bears, or hidden devices, or cloud servers, waiting to be played back for whoever has the right remote control, who knows which buttons to press, for whoever enjoys listening, terror, pleading, silence, and there is nothing I can do to stop it, to erase it, to save it. I can only live, knowing, and warn. When I can, those who will listen, that technology is not magic. It is a tool, and in the wrong hands, it is a prison. It is a weapon. It is horror that records and replays and never, never forgets. The note from the parents said, if the children don't eat their dinner, there are leftovers in the fridge. But when I opened it at 8:30 p.m. that night on March 20th, 2024, I found packages of raw meat meticulously wrapped in white paper like gifts, each tied with butcher's twine, with handwritten labels that read, for Jamie, for Isolde, for the babysitter, with dates showing that some were weeks, some more than a month, old. And the smell that came out when I opened that door wasn't just old refrigerator. It was rusted iron, metal, something my primitive brain recognized as danger before I could articulate why. My name is Thessaly Ashford, 23 years old, nursing student at the University of Pittsburgh, working as a part-time nanny to pay for rent and textbooks that cost more than my car. And when the Strand family hired me through the Kinder Care Connect agency to watch their 3 children that Wednesday night, just 5 hours, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., $100 cash. I thought it would be easy work. Routine. The Strands lived on the outskirts of Pittsburgh, in Moon Township, in a 2-story house on a quiet street where every lawn was perfectly mowed and every mailbox painted the same cheerful navy blue. Oberon Strand had greeted me at the door at 5:55 p.m. Punctual, I noted, which I appreciated. He was a man in his 40s, still wearing a stained apron, dark hair slicked back, a smile that revealed teeth that were too white. Thessaly, thank you for coming on such short notice. My wife Nefela had a work emergency, and I have, well, an appointment I can't cancel. No problem. Glad to help. The kids are angels, he said, removing his apron, which, I notice now, had dark stains that looked like, well, like the stains you'd see on a butcher's apron. Quillen is 8, Dagny is 6, and little Caspian just turned 3. They've already had dinner. Well, most of them have. Caspian can be picky. If he doesn't eat, there are leftovers in the fridge. He led me to the kitchen where the 3 children were sitting at the table. Quillen and Dagny were eating chicken nuggets and mashed potatoes that looked like they came from a box. Caspian was pushing food around on his plate with an expression I recognized from my pediatric nursing work. A little boy who wasn't feeling well, or was just being stubborn about food. Hi, I said, crouching down to his level. I'm Thessaly. I'm going to be spending time with you guys tonight. Quillen looked at me with eyes that were too old for an 8-year-old. Are you staying? Just until your parents get back. Does that sound okay? He didn't answer. He just went back to his nuggets. Oberon checked his watch, a cheap Casio I noticed, odd for such a nice house, and moved toward the door. Emergency numbers are on the refrigerator. My cell phone too. We should be back around 11, midnight at the latest. Your wife too? She's coming from a different event. But yes, around the same time. He kissed each child on the head. Quillen and Dagny remained stiff under the affection. Caspian cringed and left. I heard his car drive away, and then it was just me and the kids at home, which suddenly seemed too quiet, as if the sound had been absorbed by the walls. "So," I said with a cheerfulness that sounded fake even to my own ears, "what do you like to do after dinner?" "Stories," Dagny said immediately. The first word she had ever spoken. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "We like it when the babysitter reads stories." "The babysitter? Do you have a regular babysitter?" "We did," Quillen said, "but she left. Dad said it didn't work out." "Oh. Well, I can read stories. Where are the books?" They showed me into the living room, a cozy space with a large sofa and shelves full of children's books. We spent the next hour reading. The children were strangely well behaved, almost too well. Quillen and Dagny sat perfectly still, hands in their laps, interrupting only to ask me to read louder when my voice dropped. Caspian snuggled against me with his thumb in his mouth, his small body warm. They were sweet, normal, except for something. The way Quillen kept looking toward the hallway leading to the basement stairs. The way Dagny flinched when the pipes creaked. The way Caspian whispered, "I'm not hungry," when I asked if he wanted a snack. At 8 p.m. I began the bedtime routine. Quillen and Dagny brushed their teeth without being reminded. They put on their pajamas. They marched up the stairs to their bedrooms like soldiers. But Caspian started crying when I tried to take him upstairs. "No, hungry. I want to eat." "I thought you weren't hungry, sweetie." "Now I am," he sobbed, genuinely. "My tummy hurts." Okay, I'll get you something." I looked at Quillen, who was standing at the top of the stairs. "What does he like to eat?" Quillen exchanged glances with Dagny. Something passed between them. Silent communication. Then, "Leftovers. In the fridge. Dad leaves it for when we get hungry late." "Perfect. I'll go down and get something." I settled Quillen and Dagny into their respective bedrooms, simple rooms, with posters of superheroes and princesses. Nothing remarkable except that both had locks on the doors. On the outside. As if anyone needed to lock them in. "Why do they have locks on the outside?" I asked Quillen. "Security," he said immediately, like a rehearsed answer. "Dad says it's for security." I didn't press, although something about that, along with everything else, added to my growing sense of unease. I went downstairs with Caspian on my hip, still sobbing about his empty stomach. The kitchen was nice. Soft lighting from pendant lights above a granite island. Modern appliances. Family photos on the refrigerator held by magnets. Strand happy at the park, at the beach, at some restaurant. I opened the refrigerator, and the smell hit me. Not exactly rotten, but organic, strong, like walking into a butcher shop on a hot day. Iron, metal, blood. The refrigerator was full, completely full, of packages wrapped in white butcher paper. Dozens, stacked on every shelf, filling drawers, some with red string tied in bows, like gifts, as if someone had wrapped Christmas presents, but instead of toys there was meat, and the labels. God, the labels, handwritten in black ink, neat handwriting, almost calligraphic. For Jamie, 215.24, special ribs. For Isolda, 222.24, tenderloin. For the nanny, 3.5.24, preferred steak. For the kids, 3.10.24, lean ground beef. For Nefile, 3.12.24, premium cut, February. Some of these were from February, over a month ago, raw meat, wrapped, unfrozen, just refrigerated for weeks. My stomach churned. This wasn't safe. This was health code violation, dangerous. Why would anyone store meat like this? Why label it with names? And that name. For the babysitter. Which babysitter? The one who didn't work out? The one who left? Caspian squirmed in my arms. Hungry. Food. I don't think so. These leftovers are fine, honey. Let me see if there's anything else. I checked other drawers, further back, and found yogurt, fruit, bread, normal food. I closed the refrigerator, quickly. I made Caspian a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. He devoured it as if he hadn't eaten in days, which, now that I thought about it, seemed possible. The nuggets he had pushed away at dinner had been maybe 3. Barely enough food for a 3-year-old. "When was the last time you ate?" I asked as he chewed. "I don't know. Daddy says, don't eat much for the special dinner." "What special dinner?" "I don't know. He says, soon." Another bite. "Daddy is a butcher. He makes special meats." Butcher. Of course. The apron, the stains, the professionally wrapped meat. But the labels, the names, the old dates, none of that was normal, even for a butcher. "Does Dad bring work home?" "Yes. From work. From the shop." Caspian finished his sandwich. "More?" "Sure, sweetie." I made another one. My mind was spinning, trying to find a rational explanation. Maybe Oberon bought cuts to experiment with. Maybe the labels were projects, recipes he planned to make for specific people, and the old dates, maybe. They were frozen before, and he moved them to the refrigerator. That made sense. Reasonable. Except the smell. Frozen meat doesn't smell like that when you thaw it. It smells neutral. This smelled alive somehow, like fresh meat, but old, starting to go bad. I put Caspian to bed around 9 p.m. He fell asleep quickly, exhausted from crying, from hunger finally sated. I checked on Quillen and Dagny, both awake, lying still, staring at the ceiling. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yes," they said in unison, as if they had practiced. I went downstairs. The house felt different now, darker even though the lights were on, quieter even though I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, more threatening. I sat down on the couch. I took out my phone, checking the time. 9:17 p.m. 2 more hours. I could do this. But I couldn't stop thinking about the refrigerator, about the packages, about the names. Jamie, Isolde, the babysitter. Who were they? Customers, friends, family. I searched my phone. Oberon Strand Butcher, Pittsburgh. Results, 1 business. Strand's Fine Meats. In a strip mall in Moon Township. Reviews on Yelp, mostly positive. Best meat in the area. Oberon knows his cuts. Reasonable prices, excellent quality. But some were strange. I ordered special ribs. Oberon said he had the perfect cut, but when I cooked them, the taste was strange, not like normal beef. Won't be back. User Sarah 1987. Does anyone else think this place is weird? I ordered tenderloin, and Oberon insisted it was personal, like it was made specifically for me. Creepy. User John D. 20. And then, a review from 6 months ago. I went to pick up my order and saw the back refrigerator. It had packages labeled with names, people's names. When I asked about it, Oberon got defensive. He said it was an organization system, but it seemed more sinister. I'll avoid this place. User Michelle K. My blood ran cold. It wasn't just this house, it was his business too. Labeling meat with names. Why? What butcher does that? Unless it wasn't an organizational system, unless the names meant something else. For Jamie, for Isolde, for the nanny. As if the meat was made from them. "No," I whispered. "No, that's ridiculous, that's impossible." But my brain, the part that studied anatomy, that understood the human body, knew that meat was meat. That muscle tissue looked similar across species. That if someone knew how to process, package, label, and serve it. Vomit rose in my throat. I got up, running to the first-floor bathroom, emptying my stomach, once, twice, until there was nothing left. I rinsed my mouth, looking at myself in the mirror. Pale face, wild eyes. "You're being paranoid," I told myself. "Studying too much, watching too many crime documentaries. This is Just a butcher with a weird system. That's all. But then, why was my instinct screaming? Why was every fiber of my being saying run? I went back to the living room, considering. Should I call the police? And say what? There's meat with weird labels in the refrigerator? They would laugh at me. Or worse, the Strands would sue me for defamation. I needed more information, evidence, something concrete. The basement. Oberon had been going down to the basement when I arrived. I saw him before. He took off his apron. What was he doing down there? The basement door was in the kitchen, next to the refrigerator, closed, with a visible lock, a latch, the kind that locks from the outside, like the locks on children's bedrooms. I tried the knob. Locked, of course, but the lock was simple. Bolt, no key. I could see the bolt through the gap between the door and the frame, if I had. Something thin. A credit card, perhaps, or... I found a butter knife in a drawer, slipping it into the gap, pushing the bolt, working. With patience I didn't feel. Click. The bolt gave way. The door opened. Stairs descending into darkness. A smell rising, stronger than the refrigerator. Iron, metal, and something else. Chemicals. Chlorine, perhaps, trying to mask it. Hello, I called, stupid but instinct. Anyone there? Silence, except for a hum. Electrical. Like a big freezer running. I found the light switch, flickering, illuminating. The basement was clean, too clean. White tile walls, tiled floor, drain in the center. Like an autopsy room, or a slaughterhouse, and equipment, stainless steel tables, hooks hanging from the ceiling, bandsaw in the corner, new, professional, large freezer against the back wall, tools on a board, knives of all sizes, saws, what looked like surgical instruments, and on the table, notebook, open, with entries written in the same calligraphic handwriting as the labels. I approached, hands shaking, reading. February 15th, Jamie completed. Excellent performance, 47 pounds, usable. Ribs especially good. Nafile approved. February 22nd, Isolde processed. More difficult, resisted, but satisfactory result, 52 pounds. Premium loin. March 5th, previous nanny, regrettable but necessary. She was suspicious, 38 pounds. Not the usual quality, but usable. My vision darkened at the edges. This couldn't be, real. I kept reading. Previous entries, dozens, months, years, going back, names, dates, weights, notes on performance and quality and family preferences. And at the end, a note dated today, March 20th. New babysitter arrives 6 p.m. Observe, evaluate. If suitable, process tomorrow after school. Children need fresh meat. Inventory low. The children need fresh meat. Oh God, oh God, oh God. The children eating the meat of people. The yogurt and fruit I had found. For guests, to appear normal. But the real diet, the wrapped meat. For the children. It was. My stomach emptied again, but nothing remained except bile. I needed to get out. I needed the children. I needed sound. Upstairs. Front door opening, closing, footsteps, heavy, male, crossing the living room. Thessaly, Oberon's voice. Where are you? I wasn't supposed to be home. He said 11 p.m. It was only 9:45. I forgot something, he continued, his voice approaching the kitchen. My special tool for tomorrow. I looked around the basement. No other way out. No windows. Only stairs. Where he was. Freezer. Big. I could hide. I opened it and wished I hadn't. Bodies, body parts, wrapped, labeled, organized by cut. Ribs, Jamie. Shoulder, Isolde. Thigh, Nanny C4. I closed it quickly before the scream in my throat escaped. The stairs. He was coming down. I could hear his boots on the steps. Table. I slid underneath, into the shadows, hoping that what? That he wouldn't look. His legs appeared. Walking toward the toolboard, Picking up, knife, large, fillet knife, blade glinting under the fluorescent light. "Thessaly," he called. As if he couldn't see me. As if he didn't know I was here. "I know you're here. I saw the basement door open. And you. You're not good at hiding." He moved toward the freezer, opening it. "See? This is what we do. What we are. A family that survives in our own way. The meat in supermarkets is toxic, full of chemicals, hormones. But this," he gestured toward the contents, "this is organic, free of chemicals, perfect." He turned toward the table, leaning over, looking at me, smiling. "There you are." I rolled away from him, getting up on the other side, running toward the stairs. But he was fast, hand grabbing my ankle, pulling, me falling, hitting steps, pain exploding in my ribs, in my elbow. "Dad, no." A voice from above. Quillen, standing at the top of the stairs. "She's good, not like the others. Go to your room, Quillen." "No. She made sandwiches for Caspian. She read stories, please." Oberon hesitated, his grip loosening slightly. I kicked, violently, my heel connecting with his wrist, the knife falling, bouncing on the steps. I crawled up, Quillen reaching for me, pulling me, small but desperate hands. I reached the kitchen, Oberon behind me, emerging from the basement. "Kids," I yelled. "Quillen, Dagny, Caspian, come here now." Dagny appeared from the hallway, eyes wide. "What's going on?" "We need to leave, all of us now." "You can't take them," Oberon said. "Calm now, voice of reason. They're my children. And you're an intruder, an invader, in my house, my business." I reached for my phone, in my pocket. Dialing 911, hands shaking so violently I almost dropped it. 911, what is your emergency? "House in Moon Township, man trying to kill me. He has bodies in the basement, please." "Address, ma'am?" "I don't know. Street." "Quillen, which street?" "Magnolia Drive," he whispered. "Number 847. 847, Magnolia Drive," I repeated. "Please hurry. Units are on their way. Stay on the line." Oberon moved toward me, not quickly, slowly, deliberately, like a hunter who knew his prey was cornered. "They'll be here in 10 minutes, maybe 15. This is a quiet neighborhood, not much crime. And in 10 minutes, I can do a lot with this." He raised the knife he had retrieved from the basement. The children huddled behind me, all three of them, even Caspian, who had come downstairs, crying but clinging to my leg. "Closet," I whispered to Quillen. "Where?" "Hallway, upstairs. When I count to 3, run, understood?" Quillen nodded. 1. Oberon advancing. 2. Closer, knife raised. 3. I lunged at him, not to attack but to distract, his arms swinging, missing as I dodged. "Run!" I yelled at the children. They ran, toward the hallway, Quillen leading, Dagny with Caspian in her arms. Oberon turned, toward them. "Come back here. You're mine. My family." I followed him, grabbing whatever I could. Table vase, throwing it, connecting with his back, shattering. He turned, rage on his face. "You're going to regret that." The children disappeared into the closet, door closing. Oberon moved toward the hallway. I blocked him, putting myself between him and the closet. "Move." "No." "Are you going to protect them from their own father? From a monster?" "Yes," he charged. Knife forward. No finesse now, just rage. I turned, the knife passing, cutting my arm. Hot pain, immediate blood but superficial, not deep. I grabbed his wrist, with both hands, fighting. For control of the knife, he was stronger, much stronger, pushing me back against the wall. My hand slipped, in my own blood, losing grip, and then crash, from the kitchen, window breaking. "Police, hands up!" Oberon froze, letting go of me, knife falling, his hands rising automatically. 2 officers entered, guns drawn. "On the floor, now." Oberon obeyed, lying down, not fighting. I slid against the wall, lowering myself, pressing my bleeding arm. "The children," I gasped. In the closet, they're safe. One officer went to get them, another handcuffing Oberon, reading him his rights. In the basement, I said. You need to see. In the basement. And the freezer, please. They did. What they found confirmed everything. The notebook, the tools, the contents of the freezer, and DNA tests would later prove the unthinkable. 16 people, over 7 years, processed, packaged, served, to his family, to select customers who believed they were buying special organic meat. The children, Quillen, Dagny, Caspian, they went to protective services, therapy, evaluations, trying to undo years of what? Abuse, conditioning, normalization of cannibalism, and me. I spent 3 days in the hospital. Stitches in my arm, psychological evaluation, endless calls from detectives, from the media, from victims' lawyers. The agency offered me paid counseling. The Strands, Oberon, and Nefiel, who was arrested when she tried to flee, would be tried, probably convicted, life without parole. But that night, those hours in that house, they remain, in my memory, etched, permanent. The smell of the refrigerator when I opened it, the packages wrapped like gifts, the labels with names. For Jamie, for Isolde, for the nanny who had been me, who almost was me, processed, packaged, served, with a note in a notebook about performance and usable pounds. And the children, their voices whispering, "Daddy is a butcher," as if that were an explanation, as if it justified everything. In Oberon's voice, calm, rational, explaining, "This is organic, chemical-free, perfect," as if cannibalism were a diet, a lifestyle choice, not an atrocity. And I know, every time I open the refrigerator, every time I see meat wrapped in butcher paper, every time I smell iron, metal, blood, I will return to that kitchen, to that basement, to that moment when I understood what leftovers really were, what the labels meant, what Oberon planned to do to me. And the question remains, haunting me, in nightmares, in quiet moments when I let my guard down. How many more? How many butchers? How many families? How many special operations hidden in normal stores? Normal houses, quiet neighborhoods, where every lawn is perfectly mowed and every mailbox painted the same cheerful navy blue. And the worst, what keeps me awake, is this: the reviews, the positive ones, the ones that said, "Best meat in the area." Oberon knows his cuts. Reasonable prices, excellent quality. How many? 8, without knowing. Praising the flavor, coming back for more, recommending it to friends, to family. How many? Consumed. Jamie, Isolde, Nanny, C4. The other 13, whose names I'm still learning from police investigations. I won't know. I'll never know. Because Oberon, even in prison, even facing charges, refuses to name customers, to reveal who knew, who was complicit versus ignorant. And that is the ultimate horror. Not just what happened, but the extent, the network, the unknown. And every time someone asks me, casually, in conversation, "Do you know a good butcher? Where do you buy meat?" I freeze. Because how do you know? How can you be sure? What guarantee is there that what you buy, what you eat, what you feed your family is what it's supposed to be? There's no guarantee, not after knowing what I know, what I saw, what almost happened to me. And that is the dinner that never ends, the feast that continues. In my mind, in my nightmares, in every refrigerator I open hoping for normal food, but fearing, always fearing, packages wrapped like gifts, with names written in calligraphy, with dates from weeks ago, smelling of iron and metal and death, and a voice whispering from memory, from trauma, from that white-tiled basement. Organic, chemical-free, perfect, and a scream that never escaped that night, but that echoes, now, always endlessly. Looking after two siblings seemed like a simple job that Friday, March 22nd, 2024, 5-year-old Isolde and 12-year-old Quillen in a 2-story house in Evanston, Illinois. But when Quillen looked at me with eyes too serious for his age and whispered, "Don't look under my bed, or he'll come for you." And later, when I was checking to see if he was asleep, I swear I saw a pair of black adult shoes peeking out from under the bedspread. I knew something was deeply, horribly wrong. My name is Nefli Voss, 25 years old, master's student in education at Northwestern, working as a night nanny to pay for tuition that my scholarship didn't cover. And when the Strand family contacted me through the Urban Sitter app, need reliable babysitter for Friday night, 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., $100, 2 well-behaved children, I accepted without hesitation. The house was only 3 miles from my apartment. The pay was generous, and the Strands had perfect 5-star ratings from 5 previous babysitters. I arrived at 6:55 p.m., always early. It was my policy. And the house was exactly what you'd expect from an upper-middle-class family in Evanston. 2 stories, craftsman style with a wide porch, and a well-manicured lawn even in March when most of the grass was still brown-yellow from winter. Warm lights shining from the windows, completely normal, completely safe. Oberon Strand greeted me at the door, 40s, with black-rimmed glasses and a sweater that screamed college professor or architect. Friendly smile, firm handshake. Nefel, thanks for coming. My wife Saffron is already in the car. We have a reservation at 7:30 and you know how traffic is into the city. No problem. Glad to be here. He led me inside. The house smelled of vanilla candles and something cooking, pizza perhaps. The living room was cozy, with furniture that matched without being too perfect. Family photos on the walls, the Strands at the beach, at Disneyland, at what looked like someone's European wedding. The kids have already had dinner, Oberon said as we climbed the stairs. Isolde tends to fall asleep around 8. Quillen can stay up until 10. He's reading the Percy Jackson series, so he'll probably have his nose in a book all night. Sounds perfect. Isolde is, well, she's 5, sweet. A little shy at first, but warms up quickly. Quillen is more reserved, especially with new people. Give him space. He'll eventually open up. We reached the second-floor hallway. 3 bedrooms, 1 for each child, and presumably 1 for the parents. Oberon knocked on the first door on the left. Isolde, sweetie, the babysitter is here. A little girl appeared, blonde hair and pigtails, wearing pink princess pajamas. She looked at me with big blue eyes for a moment, then smiled. Hi, Isolde. I'm Nefele. I like your pajamas. It's Rapunzel. She's my favorite. Excellent choice. Next door, closed. Oberon knocked. Quillen, come meet Nefele. Long pause. Then a voice, deeper than expected for a 12-year-old, already in puberty. I'm reading. It'll only take a minute, son. Audible sigh. Door opened, and there was Quillen, tall for his age, probably 5'6", with dark hair that needed cutting falling into equally dark eyes, slim build, wearing a gray hoodie and jeans. He looked at me, not a brief, polite glance, but a real assessment, scanning, measuring, deciding something. Hi, I said, keeping my tone light, non-threatening. I heard you're into Percy Jackson. Which book? The Last Olympian. Still looking. Have you read them? Years ago. They're good. Do you like them? Shrug. They're okay. Quillen, Oberon said warningly. Be polite. It's okay, I said quickly. I understand. Friday night, I'd rather read than talk to a stranger too. A lighter flash in Quillen's eyes, almost appreciation. Then he retreated back to his room. Okay, I'll be reading if you need me. Oberon sighed. I'm sorry. He's been difficult lately. The divorce was, well, it hit the kids hard. Divorce? But the photos, the decor, everything screamed happily married family. Ah, yes. Saffron and I were separated briefly last year. We reconciled in January, but the kids are still processing it, especially Quillen. He's having some trust issues right now with new people. That makes sense. It takes time. Anyway, Oberon checked his watch. Emergency numbers are on the fridge. My cell phone too. We should be back around 2 a.m. Restaurant, then some drinks with friends. First night out in months. Take your time. I've got it covered. He showed me the basics. Wi-Fi, TV controls, where the food and drinks were. Then he and Saffron, who I greeted briefly as they hurried to the car, were gone. Engine starting, driving away. And then it was just me and the kids at home, which suddenly felt bigger, quieter. Isolde found me in the living room. Can we watch a movie? Of course. What would you like to watch? We ended up watching Frozen, her choice, as she snuggled up next to me on the couch with a blanket. Adorable, normal. By 7:45 p.m., I was yawning. Ready for bed, sweetie? I'm not sleepy, she lied, yawning again. How about this? Let's go upstairs. You get in bed, and I'll read you a story. Sound good? Okay. I took her upstairs. Her room was exactly what you'd expect. Pastel pink walls, dolls everywhere, bookshelves full of fairy tales. I tucked her into bed and read Goodnight Moon twice at her request. By the second time, she was asleep. I went downstairs quietly, checking the time, 8:20 p.m., almost 6 hours to go. I took out my laptop thinking I'd do some homework. But first, I should check on Quillen, make sure he was okay. I went upstairs. His door was still closed. I knocked softly. Quillen, are you okay? Yeah. Muffled voice. Just reading. Okay, I'll be downstairs if you need anything. Wait, pause. Can you come in? For a second. Sure. I opened the door. His room was different from Isolde's. Darker, navy blue walls, posters of video games and bands I didn't recognize. A desk with a closed laptop, and a full-size bed with blue ruffles that almost touched the floor. Quillen was sitting on the bed, book open but not looking at it. Looking at me with an expression that was serious. Too serious. What's wrong? I asked. I need to tell you something. A rule of the house. Okay. Don't look under my bed, he said, as if reciting something he had memorized. No matter what you hear or think you see, don't look, or he'll come for you. The air in the room suddenly felt colder. Who will come? Just don't look, please, it's important. Her eyes, genuinely scared, not playing, not joking, real fear. Quillen, if there's something under your bed that scares you. No, I almost shouted. Then lower. It's not like that, just please. Trust me, don't look, pretend it's not there, and everything will be okay. Every instinct screamed that something was wrong, but also, he was a 12-year-old boy. Maybe he had a phobia, or anxiety, or a problem his parents were working on. Okay, I said slowly. I won't look under your bed, I promise. Visible relief flooded his face. Thank you. And one more thing. Stay downstairs. Tonight. Don't come upstairs unless it's an emergency. With Isolde, I mean. Why? Just, it's better, please. Something about his tone, his urgency, made me agree. Okay, I'll stay downstairs. Thank you. He went back to his book. Clear farewell. I went downstairs, my mind racing. What the hell had that been? What was under his bed that had him so terrified? And why hadn't his parents mentioned it? Whatever it was. I settled on the sofa, trying to focus on my homework, but I couldn't. I kept thinking about Quillen's eyes, about his warning. Or, he'll come for you. Him. Not that. Him. As a person. As someone. Around 10:30 p.m., I decided to do a quick check. Check the windows, doors, make sure everything was locked. It was something I always did when babysitting, a habit from my mother who had been paranoid about home security. First floor clear. Everything locked. I went upstairs, quietly. I checked on Isolde first, fast asleep, arm around her teddy bear. Adorable. Then, Quillen's door, still locked. I put my ear to it, Listening, steady breathing, asleep. I should leave, go downstairs, let him sleep. But the warning, the look in his eyes. I couldn't shake it. Slowly, very slowly, I turned the knob, pushing the door open. Just inches, enough to see. His room was dark except for moonlight filtering through the window. Quillen in bed, a lump under the covers, asleep. And then, I saw it, under the bed, where the skirt didn't quite touch the floor. There was something, peeking out. Shoes, black men's shoes, with laces, like work boots or military boots, and not just empty shoes. There was shape, legs, stretched out, as if someone were lying there, under the bed, perfectly still. My breath stopped. My heart was pounding so hard that I thought whoever was down there would hear it. Someone was under Quillen's bed, right now, while he was sleeping, hidden. I backed away, silently, closing the door. My hands were shaking. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? Do I call the police? Do I wake Quillen? Do I grab Isolde and run? But Quillen had warned me. He had said not to look, as if. He knew, as if it were normal, which was more terrifying in a way. That this was known, expected, part of. What? Family routine. I needed answers. I needed to talk to Quillen. I went back to his door, knocking, louder now. Quillen, wake up. I need to talk to you. Movement. Then his voice, immediately alert, not sleepy, as if he hadn't really been asleep. What? Open the door, please. Pause. Then the door opened. He stood there, fully dressed. He hadn't even pretended to be in bed. You looked. Yes. I told you not to. I know. But, Quillen, there's someone under your bed, right now. We need to call the police. No, he said firmly. We can't. Why not? He looked down the hallway, toward Isolde's room, then back at me. Because it's family. It's my uncle, Evander. Your uncle is hiding under your bed. Shh. Urgent. You need to be quiet. If he knows you know, he will get unpredictable. Quillen, this isn't normal. Why is your uncle? Because he has nowhere else to go. The words came out hurriedly, whispered. He got out of prison 6 months ago, for assault. No one else would take him. So Dad said he could stay here, in secret, because Mom doesn't know. Well, she knows now because they got back together, but it's complicated. He lives here, in your room, under your bed. Not just there, also in the attic sometimes, or the basement, but he likes to be close to family. He says he protects us. Protects you from what? I don't know. He just says that. And Dad lets him because they're brothers. And family takes care of family. As if reciting something he had been told many times. The horror was complete, absolute. Because this wasn't a random intruder. This was a family arrangement. An ex-convict living in the house with children hiding from social services, probation officers, the law. Quillen, this isn't right. You're not safe. I'm fine. Defensive now. Evander has never hurt me. He's just there. He doesn't do anything. He just exists. Does he make you keep quiet? About him? Dad does. He says if anyone finds out, Evander will go back to prison, and that would kill Dad, losing his brother again. Manipulation. Clear. Obvious. Making a 12-year-old keep a secret that put him in danger. I need to call your parents. No. Please. They will be angry with me for telling you. For not keeping it a secret. Quillen, it's not your responsibility. Sound from below. From the bed in Quillen's room. Creaking. Mattress. Someone moving. Quillen turned pale. He heard. He knows we talked. Shit. What does he do when... You need to go. Now. Take Isolde. Get out of the house. I'm not leaving you. I'll be fine. He won't hurt me, but you. You're the new nanny. He says new nannies are perfect for playing. Playing? What does that mean? his bedroom door opened. Wide, revealing, figure, man, maybe in his 30s. Tall, 6'2", easily, with a build that came from lifting weights in prison, muscles that strained against his gray t-shirt. Shaved head, visible scars, one across his eyebrow, another on his cheek, and knuckles, marked with prison tattoos and fight scars. And a smile. God, a smile that was all predator. All threat, all of it, anticipation. "New babysitter," he said, raspy voice, like he smoked too much. "Quillen tried to warn you, but you looked anyway? Curious? That's good. I like that. Curious. Evander. Quillen between us. She's not going to say anything. Right, Nephilim? You're not going to tell." "Of course not. I lied. Your secret is safe." "Liar." Evander moved closer. "I can see. In your eyes. You're already planning. Calling the police. Or Dad. Telling them that. Bad brother is scaring the babysitter. I just want to leave. I'll take Isolde. And we'll go. And I'll forget I saw. I can't let you do that." He moved closer. Quillen backed up. Against me. Protecting me. Or protecting Isolde. I wasn't sure. "You see, I've been bored. So bored. Hidden. All the time. Not able to go out. See people. Do things. But when the babysitters come, when they're alone, with kids, without Oberon watching, I can play." "What happened to the other babysitters?" My voice was barely working. "Some. Played well. Understood the rules. Kept it secret. Left. With extra pay from Oberon to forget. But one, 2 months ago, she didn't play well. Tried to run. Call the police. I had to. Stop her." "Stop her how?" "Use your imagination." That smile widening. Nausea rose. "You killed her." "Evander didn't," Quillen began. "Quiet, nephew. Adults are talking." Then to me. "Kill her." "No. Too complicated, too obvious, but scare her. Enough. That she never talks. That she's too afraid. That I can do." I needed to move. Now. Before he closed the distance completely. "Quillen," I whispered. "Bathroom." "Where?" "End of the hall." "Why?" "When I count to 3. Run to Isolde's room. Grab her. Run to the bathroom. Lock the door." "Understood." "But, trust me." Evander laughed. "Planning? In front of me? You think I'm stupid?" 1. This is going to be fun. 2. Come on, babysitter. Run. Give me chase. 3. I pushed Quillen. Toward Isolde's room. I turned. Toward Evander. Not to fight, but to block. To buy seconds. He reached out. Hand closing around my arm. Steel grip. I kicked. As hard as I could. Between his legs. Connecting. He growled. Doubling over. His grip loosening. I ran. Toward Isolde's room. Quillen already there. Picking up his sister. Waking up, confused. Starting to cry. "Bathroom. Now." We ran. All 3 of us. Down the hall. Evander catching up. Heavy footsteps following. "You can't hide. This is my house. I know every damn corner." We reached the bathroom. Pushing inside. Quillen with Isolde. Me last. Closing the door. Turning the lock. The door shook immediately. Evander banging. With his fist. With his shoulder. With all his weight. "Open up. Now, or I'll break it down." The bathroom was small. Bathtub with curtain. Dresser with mirror. Toilet. Window. Small. But maybe big enough. "Quillen, the window. Can you open it?" He nodded. Leaving Isolde. Now sobbing. Frightened. On the floor. Climbing onto the vanity. Trying to open the window. More banging. The door splintering. Hinges protesting. "It's not opening." Quillen. Panic in his voice. "Latch. Stuck. Won't budge." The door shook violently. A visible crack appeared. Near the lock. "We have to break it." I grabbed the first thing I saw. A hairbrush. Heavy. With a metal handle. I swung it. Against the window. Once. Twice. Glass cracking. Third time. Breaking. Shards falling. Outside. Inside. Cutting my arm. Hot. Wet. Didn't matter. "Quillen, get Isolde out now." The door splintered further. Evander's hand reaching. Trying to reach the bolt. Quillen lifted Isolde, passing her through the window. She was small, easy, landing in the bush outside, crying but safe. Your turn. I pushed Quillen toward the window. What about you? I'll go later. Move. He climbed up, wriggling through the opening, barely fitting, falling outside. The door gave way, lock breaking, Evander entering, eyes finding me. Trapped. I climbed onto the dresser, toward the window, half in, half out. Hands grabbed me, my ankle, pulling violently. No. I kicked, broken glass still in the frame cutting my leg, his arm, but not letting go. Quillen, help her. Isolde's voice, terrified. Quillen appeared at the window, grabbing my arms, pulling, him outside, Evander inside, me stuck. Let her go, Quillen shouted. She's mine. My jeans tearing, Evander losing his grip. I got out, rolling, out the window, falling 2 meters. Landing in a bush with Isolde, Quillen helping, pulling us up. Run, I said. To the street. We ran, the 3 of us, through the side yard, to the front, to the sidewalk, to the flickering streetlights, behind us, rear window breaking, Evander coming out chasing us. But there was a car passing by. I saw it. I waved. Help, please! Car braking, window rolling down, older woman. What? Call the police. Man chasing us, children in danger. Get in, now. We got in, all 3 of us. Isolde on my lap, Quillen next to me, the woman accelerating just as Evander reached the street, hitting the trunk, leaving a dent, but too late. Where? She asked, already dialing 911 on speakerphone. Police station, the closest one. 911, what is your emergency? Quillen took the phone. His voice was calm, too calm, as if he had practiced, as if he knew it would eventually come to this. My uncle, Evander Strand, ex-convict, living illegally in our house. He just attacked our nanny, and us. We need help. And that was it. Police arrived. Ambulance for our cuts. Oberon and Saffron called. Evander found. Still in the house, trying to hide. In the attic this time. Arrested, charged. The parents, Oberon especially, tried to explain. I was just helping my brother. I didn't know he was dangerous. The kids never said, because you told us not to. Quillen, flat voice, dead. You said family takes care of family. That if we told, we'd destroy everything. Child Protective Services got involved. Quillen and Isolde removed, temporarily, until evaluations were completed, until the house was secured, until the family proved that children were the priority. No secrets, no twisted loyalties to an ex-convict. And me. I gave statements. I showed my injuries. I told the story, over and over, to the police, to social workers, to a detective investigating the previous babysitters mentioned by Evander, trying to find the one who didn't play nice, the one who was arrested. They never found her. No reports, no missing babysitters. Or he scared her so well that she never spoke, that she lived with secrecy, with trauma, with fear, as I will live, with memories of shoes peeking out from under the bed, of Quillen's warning, of Evander's eyes, of his smile, of his promise to play, and questions that haunt me in nightmares, in quiet moments when I try to feel safe. How many other families, how many secrets, how many children live with someone under the bed, in the attic, in the basement, hidden, dangerous, but family then, allowed, protected. I prioritize over the safety of children who should matter more. I don't know, but I do know that when I take care of children now, I always check, under beds, in closets, anywhere a person could hide, because I learned that night that monsters aren't always strangers. Sometimes they're family, and that makes them worse, because they come with loyalty, with obligation, with reason not to run, not to tell, not to save you. I downloaded the BabySafe Pro family monitoring app that the parents asked me to install during my first shift, caring for their 8-month-old baby at their home in Denver, Colorado. But at 2:17 a.m. on April 18, 2024, my phone camera activated on its own with a silent vibration that woke me up. And when I looked at the screen, I saw the live feed from the baby's room, showing a tattooed arm, definitely male, definitely not the parents, slowly reaching toward the crib where Quillen was sleeping. And that was the moment I knew that the technology that was supposed to protect us had just shown me something that would make this night the worst of my life. My name is Dagny Merrick, 26 years old, registered nurse at Denver General Hospital, working night shifts as a nanny to supplement my income because student loans don't pay themselves. And when the Strand family contacted me through the Mile High Caregivers Agency, we need a reliable night nanny Monday through Thursday, 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., $150 per night. It was exactly what I needed. The schedule fit perfectly between my hospital shifts. The pay was excellent, and the family seemed normal when we met for the initial interview. Caspian and Isolde Strand lived in Cherry Creek, one of those new neighborhoods where all the houses looked like they came from the same catalog. Contemporary, large windows, 3-car garages. He worked in finance. She was a freelance graphic designer. And they had Quillen, their 8-month-old baby, who was, in their words, a perfect sleeper. But we like to have someone here at night just in case, for our peace of mind. The app is a non-negotiable requirement, Isolde had told me during the interview, showing me her phone with the BabySafe Pro interface. You install it, you give it all permissions, and you can monitor Quillen from anywhere in the house. We have it on our phones too, and we can check in from work or wherever we are. Completely understandable, I said. Safety first. Exactly. And look, it has all these great features. A breathing monitor that detects if he stops moving for more than 20 seconds. A sound sensor that alerts you if he cries. An infrared camera for night vision. A thermostat that shows the room temperature. It's like having a nurse around the clock, except it's you and technology working together. She showed me how it worked. I installed the app, connected to her Wi-Fi network, authorized access to my phone's camera and microphone, and linked it to the camera in Quillen's room. It was all very professional, very high-tech, very reassuring. My first shift was that Monday, April 15th. I arrived at 8:45 p.m. I always arrived early, and Isolde let me in with a tired smile that I recognized from my days working in pediatrics. A new mother, exhausted but trying to keep everything together. Quillen just finished his last feeding, she said, as I put my bag on the living room couch. He should sleep until at least 4 a.m. If he wakes up before then, there's milk in the refrigerator. Just warm it in the bottle warmer, never the microwave. And if anything seems wrong, call us. But honestly, he'll probably just sleep through the night. Got it. Where will you guys be? Upstairs in our room, door closed. Caspian has an important presentation tomorrow and needs to sleep without interruption, which is why we hired you. But we're here if there's a real emergency. Perfect. Get some rest. She showed me the basics, where Quillen's things were, emergency numbers on the refrigerator, the house alarm code, how the smart locks worked. Then she and Caspian went upstairs, and it was just me and the baby on the first floor of this house that suddenly felt very big and very quiet. I checked on Quillen, asleep in his crib, wearing dinosaur pajamas, pacifier in his mouth, breathing softly and evenly. Adorable, completely normal. I went downstairs, settled on the couch with my laptop, and the app open on my phone beside me. The screen showed a live feed from Quillen's room, a ghostly but clear green infrared image. I could see his little body, the subtle movement of his chest rising and falling. The numbers on the screen read, breathing, 34 RPM, temperature, 68 Hg, sound, 12 dB, status, sleeping. It was strangely hypnotic, like watching television, but instead of a show, it was a sleeping baby. I found myself staring longer than necessary, fascinated by the technology, by being able to see so clearly in the dark, by knowing exactly at any moment that he was okay. The hours passed without incident. I did some homework, an online course I was taking for advanced pediatric nursing certification. I checked the app about every 15 minutes. Everything normal, everything fine. At 11:30 p.m., I decided to do a quick check of the house, a habit from my nursing days. Always check your surroundings, make sure everything is as it should be. I checked the first floor windows, all closed. Back door, locked. Garage door, closed. Front door, closed and alarm activated, the panel displaying armed stay, which meant that the first floor motion detectors were off, but everything else was working. Everything secure, everything fine. I went back to the couch. I checked the app. Quillen still sleeping. Breathing, 36 RPM. Everything normal. Around midnight, I started to feel tired. I had worked a 12-hour shift at the hospital that morning, and my body was used to sleeping now. I set an alarm on my phone for 4 a.m. when Quillen would probably wake up to eat. I reclined on the sofa. I would just close my eyes for a moment. I fell asleep. And then, vibration. Soft but insistent from my phone in my hand. My eyes flew open, screen glowing in the dark. Notification from BabySafe Pro. Alert, activity detected in baby's room. My brain still foggy from sleep. What time was it? 2:17 a.m. Activity, Quillen awake. I opened the app, and what I saw instantly completely froze my blood, causing every nerve in my body to scream, danger. The feed didn't just show Quillen, it showed an arm, adult, male. I can tell by the size, by the hair visible, even in infrared vision, by the tattoos, a full sleeve of dark tribal designs, wrapping from the wrist to where it disappeared off frame. The arm extended from the side of the crib, slowly, cautiously, fingers reaching toward where Quillen slept. Not Caspian. I knew his arms. I'd seen them during the interview. No tattoos. Thinner. Someone else. Someone who shouldn't be there. In the room. With the baby. Now. Terror hit me so hard I almost dropped the phone. But my medical training, those years responding to emergencies, kicked in. Move. Act. Now. I got up, as quietly as I could. Quillen's room was upstairs. First door on the right on the second floor. The stairs. I needed to get upstairs without alerting whoever was up there. But I also needed to... What? A weapon. Call 911. Yell for Caspian and Isolde. My phone. Still with the app open. I dialed 911 as I moved toward the stairs. I pressed call. 911, what is your emergency? Intruder, I whispered. Barely audible. At home. With baby. Need help. Address, ma'am. God, 2847 Cherry Creek. Don't remember street name. It's the Strands. The Strand House. Can you see the intruder? On baby monitor. In baby's room. Now. Units are on their way. Leave the house if you can. Do not confront. I can't leave. The baby is upstairs with him. Ma'am, for your safety. I'm not leaving an 8-month-old baby with an intruder. My voice rising. Too loud. Shit. From upstairs. Sound. Creak. Like footsteps on wooden floor. I looked at the app. The arm had retracted. Out of camera view. But I could see. Shadow. Moving. Toward the bedroom door. Toward the hallway. Toward the stairs. Toward me. It's coming toward me, I whispered to the dispatcher. I need to hide. Or something. The police are 3 minutes away. Hide if you can. Where? The house was open plan. Living room, dining room, kitchen, everything visible. Only the hallway closet, next to the stairs. I moved, quickly but trying to be quiet, toward the closet, opening it, going in, between coats and the smell of detergent. Leaving the door ajar so I could see, the stairs, someone coming down, slowly, deliberately, heavy boots on each step. Thump, thump, thump. He came into view, and I could see, man, 30-something, tall, maybe 6'1", slim but wiry build, jeans, black t-shirt, And those tattoos, full sleeve on his left arm like I'd seen on the app, dark tousled hair, 3-day beard, and in his hand, knife, not big, kitchen knife, but sharp enough, threatening enough. He reached the bottom of the stairs, looking around, searching. For me, for something else. "Isolde," he called. Hoarse voice, slightly slurred, drunk, high. "I know you're here. I saw your car." Oh God, he knew Isolde. This wasn't a random robbery. This was personal. "I just want to talk, baby. About Quillen. About us. About how you completely cut me off. How is that okay?" "Huh? How is it okay that I can't see my own son?" His son. Quillen was his son, not Caspian's. This man's. This violent intruder with a knife. "Evander," another voice. From above, Isolde, standing at the top of the stairs, in her robe, face pale. "What are you doing here?" "Coming for what's mine. You, Quillen, my family." "You're not family. Not after what you did. The restraining order." "Fuck the restraining order," he roared, climbing a step. "That's my son, my blood, and you, marrying that idiot, letting him play daddy with my boy." "Evander, please." Caspian appeared next to Isolde. "Just put the knife down, we can talk." "I don't want to talk to you." He moved faster now, climbing stairs. "I want what's mine," Isolde screamed, she and Caspian backing away, toward her room, and Evander, following, with knife. With intent that was clear, violent. I needed to do something. Quillen still upstairs, sleeping, vulnerable, and his parents being pursued by his biological father, who clearly wasn't thinking rationally. I came out of the closet, looking around. What could I use? Lamp, vase, my phone. The dispatcher still on the line. "Ma'am, are you there?" "Yes." He's coming up, chasing the parents with a knife. "Please hurry." 90 seconds. 90 seconds. An eternity. Especially with screams coming from upstairs. Isolde, Caspian, and Evander roaring. "Give me my son." Crash. Something breaking. Lamp. Mirror. Then, crying, high-pitched, terrified. Quillen, awoken by the chaos. Evander. "There he is, my boy." "No, Isolde, you're not taking him." More sounds. Struggle. Grappling. And then, footsteps. Down the stairs. Fast. Heavy. Evander appeared. With Quillen, wrapped in a blanket. Crying. Held awkwardly in one arm. The knife still in his other hand. "No one stops me," he muttered. "No one stops me." He reached the bottom of the stairs, turning toward the front door, toward escape, toward kidnapping his own child. And then, I saw, the nanny, me, was the only thing between him and the door. I moved, blocking, without thinking, just reacting. "You can't take him. Move." "No." I said move. He raised the knife, pointing it at me. "Or I'll move you." "I'm not letting you take that baby." "Who the hell are you?" "Nanny. And that baby is my responsibility." "That baby is my son." He spat the words. "Do you understand? Mine. Not that jerk upstairs. Mine. Biologically, maybe. But legally, emotionally, that baby belongs with his mother, with his family. Not with you." "I am family," he charged. Knife first. I moved. Pure instinct. Dodging. The knife passing inches from my side. But he was holding Quillen. He couldn't swing properly. Not with the baby crying and wriggling in his grip. "Give him to me." I reached, grabbing Quillen, pulling. "Let go." Evander pulled back, baby between us. Rope in horrible tug of war. Quillen screaming now, terrified. And me. Terrified of pulling too hard, of hurting him, but more terrified of letting go, of letting Evander take him God knows where to do God knows what. Then, sirens, distant but getting closer, fast. Evander heard them, panic in his eyes. He looked between me, Quillen, the door, and he let go, of Quillen, pushing him toward me. I grabbed him, holding him close, protecting him. "This isn't over," he said. "I'll be back. For him. For Isolde." For what's mine." He ran, not toward the front door, alarm still activated there, but toward the kitchen, toward the back door, where he must have originally entered. I followed, with Quillen in my arms, seeing. The back door was open, broken glass next to the lock. How he had gotten in, avoiding the alarm, just breaking in. He slipped outside, into the night, disappearing over the back garden fence, toward the alley, toward escape. The sirens louder, red and blue lights flashing through the front windows. I went back to the living room, Isolde coming down the stairs, running. "Quillen, is he okay?" "He's okay, scared but not hurt." I handed her the baby. She collapsed on the sofa, sobbing, holding her son, checking him for injuries that, thank God, weren't there. Caspian came down too, cut on his forehead, bleeding, but walking. He went to the door, let the police in. What followed was a blur. Statements, paramedics checking everyone, photos of the broken back door, of Caspian's cut, of everything. Isolde explained between sobs that Evander had been her boyfriend, Quillen's biological father, but violent, abusive, arrested for domestic assault when she was pregnant. She had obtained a restraining order. She had moved. She had met Caspian. She had married. She had tried to start over, but Evander had been released from prison 3 months ago, and he had been finding her, stalking her, leaving messages, threatening her. And tonight, he had decided to act, to break in, to claim what he believed was his. "How did he know we would be asleep?" Isolde asked. "How did he know exactly when?" And then I realized. The app, BabySafe Pro. Does Evander have? "Did he have access to your BabySafe account?" I asked. Isolde turned pale. "From when we were together, when Quillen was born. I set it up so he could monitor too, but I thought, when I changed my passwords after the restraining order, I thought I had blocked him from everything." "Did you change the BabySafe password specifically?" "I don't know. Maybe not." The police checked, requesting access to Isolde's account, and there it was, under authorized devices. Evander's iPhone, last connection, today 2:15 a.m. He had been watching through the app, seeing when Quillen was asleep, when the house was quiet, when I, the nanny, would probably be asleep on the couch, planning everything, using the technology that was supposed to protect Quillen, to invade him. "That's why my phone's camera activated," I said, realizing. The app, when it detected movement in Quillen's room, it automatically activated my camera so I could see, to alert me. An officer nodded. "That feature probably saved you. The baby, everyone. Without that alert, who knows what would have happened?" I didn't want to think about that. About Evander taking Quillen without anyone knowing until it was too late. About what he would have done, where he would have gone, if we would ever have found him. They found Evander 2 days later, hidden in a motel 3 states away. They arrested him, charged with illegal entry, assault, attempted kidnapping, violation of a restraining order, enough to ensure he wouldn't be out for a long time. And Isolde changed all her passwords. She deleted her BabySafe account. She installed a new security system without an internet connection. No vulnerabilities. No way for anyone to watch remotely. And me. I worked 3 more shifts with the Strands, until they found a permanent nanny. Someone who could commit long-term, who could help Quillen, the family, heal from trauma, from fear, from the breach of security that had been both physical and digital. But those nights, those last 3 shifts, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I kept seeing, in my mind, the feed from that app, the tattooed arm reaching out, the fingers getting closer, the threat visible, clear, but only through a phone screen, not in person until it was almost too late. And I wonder, still, how many other people trust technology, apps, monitors, cameras, thinking they are safe, that they are protected, without realizing that that same technology can be turned against them by someone with access with malicious intent, with knowledge of passwords that were never changed, because technology is neither good nor bad. It is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used to protect or to stalk, to save or to harm. And that night, it did both. The alert saved me. It showed me the danger in real time. It gave me precious seconds to react, to move, to protect. But it was also how Evander observed, planned, knew exactly when to attack, when we were most vulnerable, when we would have no defense. And now, when clients ask me to install monitoring apps, I say yes, but I also ask questions. Who else has access? Ex-partners? Extended family? Anyone who could use this not to protect but to invade, because I learned, in the most terrifying way, that privacy and security are not the same thing, that you can sacrifice one without gaining the other, that a window that allows you to see inside also allows others to see out, to watch you, to study you, to wait for you, and that vibration. At 2:17 a.m., the soft notification that woke me up. Alert. Activity detected. I still feel it, in nightmares, in moments when my phone vibrates unexpectedly, in that split second of panic before I realize. It's just a message, just a normal notification, no threat, no intruder, no arm reaching for sleeping innocence. But for that moment, my heart stops, my breath catches, and I'm back, on that couch, staring at the screen, seeing the impossible, the horrible, what should never have been there, and running, up the stairs, endlessly long hallway under trembling feet, toward the room where the baby cries, where parents fight, where a man with a knife and tattoos, and rage, and claims over a child who is biologically his, but in every way that matters, belongs to a family that loves him, wants him, protects him, from threat, from violence that comes disguised as parental rights, from love that is really control, possession, refusal to let go even when letting go is the only thing, the only right thing, moral, legal. But he couldn't. Evander couldn't. So he came, on a dark night, through a broken door, into the baby's room, into the sleeping family, into the nanny who was supposed to just watch, monitor, alert, but who ended up standing between predator and prey, between violent father and innocent baby, between technology that revealed and humanity that responded. And we survived. Quillen, Isolde, Caspian, me, all of us, we survived, with scars, with trauma, but alive, together, safe. Because that app, for all its risks, its vulnerabilities, its ways it could be misused, also, at that crucial moment, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It alerted me. It showed me. It gave me the opportunity to act, to protect, to save. And for that, despite the terror, despite everything, I am grateful for that vibration, that notification, that glimpse of something horrible. That allowed me to stop it before it was too late, before that tattooed arm reached all the way, before those fingers touched, before that baby was lifted, taken, gone, into the night with a father who loved in his own way, but whose love was dangerous, destructive, deadly. And Quillen, he's okay. Growing up, with parents who love him properly, who changed all the passwords, who installed new security, who learned as I learned. That protection comes with a price, with vigilance, with constant questioning. Who is watching, and why? And the answer is not always reassuring, but it is necessary, vital, critical to survive in a world where technology advances faster than our ability to understand its risks, its rewards, its capabilities to hurt, to help, both simultaneously. And that night, 2:17 a.m., April 18th, 2024, when my phone vibrated and everything changed, it will always be engraved in memory, in trauma, in gratitude, For the seconds they gave me, for the alert that saved me, for technology that, for once, for a moment, did exactly the right thing. It was my first shift as a nanny in one of those houses that look like they came out of an architecture magazine in the wooded hills of Bellevue, Washington, where the rich hide from the world behind wrought iron gates and sculpted hedges. I was Eloan Hargrove, 23 years old, recently moved from a tiny apartment in Seattle on the verge of bankruptcy, and this job was a godsend. Or so I thought. The agency had sold me the gig as a dream. Wealthy family, 6-month-old baby, quiet nights in a 3-story mansion overlooking Lake Washington. Thorne and Leora Whitaker are lovely, they told me, and the salary covers your rent for 3 months. They didn't mention the mirror in the nursery or the butler who had just been fired with a rage that fermented like sour wine. I arrived that autumn afternoon, the sun already sinking behind the gray clouds that always envelop the Pacific Northwest, my backpack slung over my shoulder, filled with spare diapers and a book of poetry I never opened. Thorne Whitaker opened the door himself, a man in his mid-40s with silver hair slicked back and a smile that looked rehearsed for security cameras. He was wearing an impeccable gray suit, as if he were about to close a multi-million-dollar deal rather than leave his son with a stranger. Eloan, welcome. Caspian is upstairs, sleeping like an angel. His voice was soft, but there was an edge to it, as if he were measuring every word. Leora, his wife, came downstairs shortly after, a slender woman with green eyes that reminded me of the murky waters of the lake, wrapped in a cashmere shawl that cost more than my annual rent. She kissed me on the cheek, cold and perfumed with lavender, and handed me a list of instructions. Bottle at 8, soft lullabies, no bright lights after 9. Gideon took care of everything before, she murmured, as if the name burned her tongue. Gideon, I asked, and she just waved her hand. The butler. Minor issues. Nothing you need to worry about. They drove off in their shiny black Audi, headed for a gala in downtown Seattle, leaving me alone with the echo of the front door closing like a tomb. The house was a labyrinth of opulence that made me feel like an intruder in someone else's palace. The foyer had a crystal chandelier that dripped light like frozen tears, and the polished marble floor reflected my worn sneakers like silent accusations. I climbed the curved staircase, my heart beating a little faster than normal. Rookie nerves, I told myself, and entered the nursery on the second floor. It was a pastel-colored sanctuary, walls the serene blue of a summer sky, a plush Persian rug that muffled my footsteps, and in the center, a mahogany crib carved with clouds and stars. Caspian slept there, wrapped in an organic cotton blanket, his chest rising and falling in a hypnotic rhythm. He had fine blonde hair like his mother's, and a tiny hand clenched into a fist, as if he already knew that the world was something to be held onto tightly. But what stopped me in my tracks was the mirror, a huge wall panel, framed in antique gold, covering almost the entire wall opposite the crib. It reflected the entire room with cruel clarity, multiplying the light from the table lamp into flashes that danced like ghosts. Extra surveillance, I thought, remembering Leora's words. So you can see without moving. I sat down in the velvet rocking chair by the window, took out my phone, and checked my messages. Nothing important. Just a text from my roommate asking if I was rich yet. The house was silent. A heavy silence, like the one that precedes a storm in Puget Sound. The first few hours passed in a calm that lulled me almost to sleep. I repaired the bottle in the downstairs kitchen, a space of black granite and stainless steel appliances that hummed like mechanical breaths. Warm water ran from the copper faucet, and as I stirred the formula, I looked out the window at the backyard, a maze of thorny rose bushes and a pond lit by LED spotlights that flickered like watery eyes. I went back upstairs and fed Caspian when he stirred at 8 o'clock sharp. His lips closed around the pacifier with a sigh. And I sang him a lullaby my grandmother taught me on sleepless nights. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird." My voice was a hoarse whisper, tinged with the southern accent I carried from my childhood in Georgia before moving west. He calmed down, and I sank into the rocking chair, phone in hand, scrolling through Instagram photos of friends at parties I couldn't afford. The house creaked occasionally, wind against the beams, or the 100-year-old oak rubbing against the roof. But it was a comforting sound, like the beating of an old heart. It was around 10 o'clock when the first chill ran down my spine. I had gotten up to adjust Caspian's blanket, turning my back to the mirror as I straightened the lace curtain that filtered the waning moonlight. The room was bathed in soft twilight, the night lamp casting elongated shadows that stretched like fingers across the carpet. I sat back down, my phone vibrating with a trivial notification, a like on a photo of me from 2 years ago. And then I saw it. In the reflection of the mirror, over my right shoulder, a flicker. It wasn't a flash of light, it wasn't the play of shadows. It was eyes. 2 dark dots sunk into deep sockets floating at the edge of the glass just behind the rocking chair. My breath caught in my throat, an icy knot that prevented me from screaming. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird, its wings flapping desperately against invisible bars. I spun around, the rocking chair creaking under my weight, and the room was empty, absolutely empty. The curtain hung motionless, the door ajar to the dark hallway, but nothing else. "What the hell?" I muttered, my voice a trembling thread lost in the silence. I approached the mirror, touching the cold frame with fingers that were already sweating, and saw myself, dilated eyes, pale cheeks, brown hair, tousled as if I had run a marathon. Tiredness, I told myself, rubbing my temples. I had slept poorly the night before, stressed about the interview with the agency. "It's just your imagination, Eloin. First night, nerves." But my pulse wouldn't calm down. It pounded in my ears like a distant war drum. I tried to get back into my routine, rocking the chair with deliberate movements, but every creak of the wood made me tense up like a spring. I looked at the clock on my phone, 10:17. The Whitakers wouldn't be back until at least 1 in the morning. Caspian stirred in his crib. A soft whimper that snapped me out of my trance. I lifted him carefully, his warm weight against my chest an anchor in my growing panic, and walked around the room, rocking him as I hummed another lullaby. "Rockabye, baby," on the treetop. But my eyes kept returning to the mirror, searching, fearing. What if it wasn't my imagination? What if someone had broken in? The house was huge, with wings that extended like protective arms, but also like traps. I remembered Leora's words about Gideon. Minor problems. What problems? Burglary? Something worse? The thought turned my stomach, an acid knot rising to my mouth. I went down to the kitchen for a glass of water, my bare feet sinking into the hallway carpet like fresh snow. The air was colder here, an icy breath seeping through the cracks in the high windows. I turned on the kitchen light, too bright, I thought. But I needed it, and drank the water in quick gulps, the icy glass against my lips, a shock that cleared my mind for a second. "You're being paranoid," I scolded myself. "It's just a big house, and you're a city girl who sees shadows where there are none." I climbed the stairs with deliberate steps, counting each one to anchor myself. 1, 2, 3, 16 in total, up to the nursery. Caspian was already asleep again in his crib, and I paused at the door, scanning the room with hawk eyes. Everything was in its place, the blanket folded, the Star Mobile hanging still, the mirror reflecting. Wait. I moved closer, my heart racing again, because there, on the edge of the glass behind the curtain next to the crib, something was moving. It wasn't eyes this time. It was a hand. Gloved in black leather, thin and bony, brushing the hem of the curtain with fingers that curved like claws. The glove glowed faintly in the lamplight, an oily sheen that froze my blood. My breath escaped in a choked gasp, and the glass of water slipped from my hands, falling to the floor in a crash of glass that broke the silence like a gunshot. I lunged toward the crib, grabbing Caspian with one arm while sweeping the empty air behind the curtain with the other. Nothing. Just soft fabric and the scent of lavender dust. But panic had already taken hold of me. My chest rose and fell in gasps, sweat beading on my forehead like cold dew. "Who's there?" I whispered, my voice breaking, but the room responded with mocking silence. Caspian woke then, his cry a high-pitched shriek that pierced my ears like an alarm siren. I cradled him against me, his little body trembling, and backed toward the door, my eyes fixed on the mirror that now looked like a window into an abyss. Terror ran up my spine like liquid poison, burning every nerve. It wasn't exhaustion, it wasn't imagination. Someone was in the house, or had been. I ran into the hallway, Caspian bawling in my arms, and felt along the wall for the light switch. The bulb hummed to life, flooding the corridor with a sickly yellow light that cast dancing shadows on the floral-patterned wallpaper. To my left, the guest room door was ajar. To my right, the balustrade leading to the hall below. Then I heard it. A crack, subtle as the snap of a dry branch coming from the stairs. My stomach clenched, a nauseating emptiness that made me stagger. "Thorn, Leora," I called, my voice a pathetic quack that bounced off the walls. Silence, only Caspian's crying, now a broken sob against my neck. I stumbled down the stairs, each step an effort against the weight of fear crushing my lungs. In the foyer, I turned on all the lights, the chandelier, the sconces, and the house revealed itself in its false splendor. Oil paintings of misty landscapes, a marble console table with a porcelain vase that looked as fragile as bone. I checked the front door, locked, chained. Windows. I ran to the living room, a vast space with leather sofas and an unlit fireplace that smelled of cold ashes. All the windows were secure, but as I pressed my nose against the glass of the French window overlooking the garden, I saw movement. Shadows among the rose bushes, a rustling of branches that was not the wind. The wind does not crunch like footsteps on gravel. Panic drove me back upstairs, Caspian now silent, but his eyes wide open, as if he too sensed the danger. "Shh, my love, shh," I whispered, kissing his salty forehead. But my mind was a whirlwind. Call the police? The phone was in the nursery next to the rocking chair. I cursed under my breath, a southern oath my mother detested, and went back upstairs, my heart pounding steadily in my chest. The room seemed untouched, but the broken glass on the floor was a bloody indictment, shards scattered like shark teeth. I picked up my phone with trembling hands, dialing 911, but before the tone sounded, a new noise paralyzed me, the creaking of a window downstairs in the kitchen, slow, deliberate, like nails scratching old wood. I hung up, my finger frozen on the screen. If it was a burglar, did I want to alert him, or was it worse? I thought of Gideon, the name floating like a specter. Leora had said, "fired that week." Why? What had he done to make her voice harden like that? I imagined an older man, resentful, with master keys he hadn't returned. Sweat ran down my back, sticky under my t-shirt, and a sob escaped me, muffled against Caspian's hair. "Don't cry, Elowen. Don't cry. Think." I needed a weapon. Something. Anything. I rummaged through the drawers of the changing table next to the crib. Diapers, wipes, a glass thermometer that I discarded as fragile. In the adjoining bathroom, I found nail scissors, too small. I went back downstairs, Caspian in one arm, the phone in the other, and entered the first-floor library, a room lined with floor-to-ceiling shelves of leather-bound books that smelled of time and money. Nothing useful. The kitchen, knives and a wooden block, but when I pulled one out, the silver blade terrified me more than it would have terrified the imaginary intruder. I put it down, opting instead for a brass letter opener I found on a desk in the living room. Sharp at one end, heavy in my hand like a makeshift dagger. I gripped it until my knuckles turned white, the cold metal biting into my palm. "Stay still," I told myself. "Listen." And then I heard it. Footsteps. Soft, muffled by the carpets but unmistakable, coming up the stairs from the hall. 1, 2, 3. I counted in my head, backing away toward the nursery. My breath was raspy, each inhalation a struggle against the panic closing my throat. Caspian stirred, a low whimper that made me silence him with a finger to his lips, hot tears rolling down my cheeks. I hid behind the nursery door, ajar just enough to spy on the hallway. The lights were still on, but the shadows lengthened, as if the house were conspiring. The footsteps stopped at the bottom of the stairs, and then a whisper. The rustle of fabric against wood. My heart thundered so loudly that I feared it would give me away. I saw a shadow first, elongated and distorted by the balustrade, projected on the wall like a monster from a B-movie. Then the figure. A tall, stooped man in a dark coat that hung like broken wings. It wasn't Thorn. Too ungainly, too. Broken. Gideon. It had to be him. His face came into view as he turned toward the light. Sunken cheeks, unkempt gray beard, bloodshot eyes scanning the hallway like a predator. In his right hand, a kitchen knife, the same block I had fled from, its blade catching the light in a malevolent glint. My routine, he muttered to himself, his voice hoarse and broken like gravel under boots. This is mine. They don't understand. Terror washed over me in waves. Nausea, dizziness, a tremor that made my teeth chatter. How had he gotten in? Through the kitchen window, which I had completely forgotten to check. And what did he want? The job. Revenge. Caspian whimpered softly, and I bit my lip until I tasted blood to keep from screaming. Then he moved toward the nursery, his footsteps a deadly whisper on the carpet. I backed away, the letter opener slippery with my sweat, and pressed myself against the wall next to the crib. The mirror betrayed him, or me, depending on how you look at it. In its reflection, I saw him approaching, his gloved hand, yes, the leather glove, now stained with dirt from the garden, reaching toward the door. My pulse was a roar in my ears, drowning out everything else. When he pushed the door, I sprang into action on pure instinct. I lunged from the shadows, the letter opener raised like a spear, and struck him on the shoulder. "Get out," I shouted, my voice a scream that shattered the silence like glass. He spun around, surprise in his crazed eyes, and the knife whistled past my arm, cutting only air. Caspian cried out at the top of his lungs, a sound that tore at my soul, and we wrestled in the darkness. His weight against me, a whirlwind of arms and legs. He pinned me against the crib, the wood creaking under the impact, and I felt his stale breath on my face, beer and rage. "You, the babysitter." "Stay out of this," he growled, his free hand closing around my throat like a vice. The air escaped me, stars exploding in my vision, and for a second, the world shrunk to his contorted face, veins bulging in his neck, the knife pressing against my side. I fought back, kicking and clawing, tearing his glove and feeling skin beneath my fingers. The letter opener dug into my palm as I tried to stab him, a sharp pain that gave me strength. I scratched his cheek, warm blood splattering my hand, and he howled, letting go just enough for me to roll toward the door. Caspian was still in his crib, his crying a symphony of terror that drove me on. I grabbed the blanket, wrapped it around myself like a shield, and ran into the hallway, his footsteps thundering behind me. I dove headfirst down the stairs, stumbling on the 5th step, my knee exploding in pain as it hit the edge. Tears and sweat blinded me, but I didn't stop. The garden, the back exit, anything. He caught up with me in the foyer, his gloved hand pulling at my ankle, and I fell face first onto the cold marble. The impact knocked the wind out of me, the letter opener flying from my hand, and I rolled to face him, kicking wildly at his chest. "Please, no," I sobbed, my voice broken as he loomed over me, knife raised. In that moment, the terror was absolute, not for the pain to come, but for Caspian, for failing that warm bundle in my arms. I saw it in his eyes. Pure madness, the resentment of a man fired for stealing silver, or whatever it was. Leora didn't tell me. "They took everything from me," he spat, saliva on his beard. "You're part of them now." I crawled into the living room, my nails scraping the marble until they bled, and reached the back door to the garden. I yanked it open, the icy night air whipping me like a lash. I staggered out, dew wetting my socks, rose bushes scratching my legs and burning furrows. Gideon followed me, his silhouette silhouetted against the interior lights like an escaped demon. I ran zigzagging through the bushes, Caspian bouncing in my arms, his cries muffled by the wind howling through the pines. The pond glowed like a black eye, and I jumped onto a stone bench, my ankle twisting in agony. "Help!" I shouted into the void, my voice dissipating in the mist rising from the lake. Crunching footsteps behind me, close, too close. I spun around, throwing dirt and gravel at him, a desperate handful that made him curse. I gained a few seconds, enough to reach the side gate. But it was padlocked shut. I pounded the metal with my fist, bruises blossoming on my skin, and then I heard it. Sirens. Distant at first, a growing wail that cut through the night like a promise. Neighbors. My earlier scream. It didn't matter. Gideon stopped, his figure frozen 10 meters away, the knife slowly lowering. He was panting, blood dripping from his torn cheek, and for a moment, I saw not a monster, but a broken man, eyes filled with a twisted sadness. I didn't wait. I scaled the fence as best I could. Caspian pressed against me and fell to the other side in a heap of wet leaves and pain. Sirens were approaching, blue lights flashing through the trees, and I ran toward the street, the asphalt cold beneath my bare feet. I collapsed against a mailbox, sobs shaking my body. Caspian finally quiet in an exhausted sleep. The horror clung to me like smoke. The mirror, the hand, the weight of him on top of me. Every breath was a reminder. Every heartbeat an echo of that struggle. Patrol car lights swept the street, and voices shouted questions I couldn't answer at first, only stammering, Gideon, the house, the baby. They wrapped me in a rough blanket, uniformed hands checking my scratches, but the cold inside wouldn't go away. Caspian was safe, I know, because I handed him over to the paramedics with hands that were still shaking. But that night, in that luxurious house with its treacherous mirror, the terror wasn't the knife or the shadows. It was knowing that danger lurks in everyday life, in a reflection you see out of the corner of your eye, in a name mentioned in passing. And I, Elowyn Hargrove, experienced it firsthand, etched into my skin and my dreams that still wake me with imaginary cries. I found a surprise package in the baby's crib during my first shift with the Voss family at their home in Boulder, Colorado. A Star Mobile beautifully wrapped in silver paper with a gold bow, but inside was a note in a white envelope that read in perfect cursive, "To the nanny who stays all night. Thank you for taking care of what I love most." And although at first I smiled, thinking it was a sweet gesture from the parents, when I looked more closely at the handwriting, my blood ran cold because I recognized every curve, every dot, every letter. It was my handwriting, my exact handwriting, from a shift I didn't remember working. My name is Saffron Crane, 27 years old, licensed social worker in Denver, working night shifts as a nanny on weekends to pay off my master's degree loan that was drowning me financially. And when Nephele Voss contacted me through mutual references, her cousin worked at my day agency, to babysit her 10-month-old baby named Caspian that Friday, April 26, 2024, from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. on Saturday for $250, I accepted without hesitation. The pay was exceptionally generous. The house was only half an hour from my apartment. And Nephele had sounded so genuinely grateful on the phone. "You've been a lifesaver, Saffron. My husband Oberon and I have an important event, and our regular babysitter canceled at the last minute." I arrived at 6:50 p.m. My policy is always to arrive early, and the house was beautiful, contemporary mountain style with huge windows overlooking the Rockies, high ceilings with exposed beams, and that mix of rustic and modern that screamed professional family with good taste. Nephele greeted me at the door, a woman in her 30s, blonde hair in an elegant bun, dressed to the nines in a navy blue dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "Saffron, thank you for coming," she said with a smile that seemed genuine, but there was something in her eyes, tension, perhaps anxiety, that didn't quite match the cheerful tone. "Please come in. Oberon is finishing getting ready upstairs, but he'll be down in a moment." She showed me around the house, a gourmet kitchen where she had left a menu for food delivery. "Order whatever you want. It's all paid for in the app." A living room with Caspian's toys scattered in a way that seemed carefully casual, as if they had been placed there deliberately to look lived in. And then we went up to the second floor where the baby's room was. It was perfect. Walls painted soft blue with white clouds printed on them, a high-quality wooden crib with organic bedding, shelves full of children's books organized by color, and a mobile above the crib. Wait. No. There was no mobile when we walked in. "Caspian just fell asleep," Nefili whispered as we stood by the crib looking at the baby. Adorable with dark curly hair, pacifier in his mouth, completely peaceful. He should sleep until at least 11. If he wakes up, there's breast milk in the refrigerator. Just warm it gently. And if anything seems wrong, call me immediately. My numbers are in the refrigerator along with the emergency numbers. "Got it. Does he have any special routine?" "Not really. He's very easy. If he wakes up, give him a bottle, change his diaper, and he'll probably go back to sleep. He's really a very good baby." Something in the way she said that, as if she were trying to convince herself, made me uncomfortable. Oberon appeared then, tall in a dark suit, tie perfectly knotted, hair slicked back with gel. He shook my hand firmly. "Saffron, a pleasure. We hear wonderful things about you. Nefeli and I feel very lucky to have gotten you on such short notice. Happy to help." "There's something else," Nefeli said, her voice dropping lower, almost conspiratorial. "You'll find a package. In the crib. It's for you. A small welcome gift. A thank you for staying the night. Open it whenever you like. It's just our way of saying thank you." "Oh, that's very sweet, but it wasn't necessary." "We insist," said Oberon, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Please. Accept it." And then they left. Quick goodbyes, a kiss to Caspian, who didn't wake up, shoes on the marble floor of the hallway, door closing, car engine starting and driving away. And then it was just me and the baby in this big, quiet house with its large windows showing mountains darkening under an April sky threatening rain. I went back to Caspian's room to familiarize myself with the space, and there it was, in the corner of the crib where it definitely hadn't been before. A package wrapped in shiny silver paper with an elaborate gold bow on top, about the size of a shoebox, maybe a little bigger, with my name on a small tag, to Saffron. I picked it up, not heavy, but not light either, something moving inside with the soft sound of bells. I took it down to the living room, settled into the soft leather sofa, and unwrapped it carefully. Inside was a simple white box, and when I opened it, I found a star mobile, beautiful, with fabric stars in different shades of blue and silver hanging from a wooden circle, and little bells that tinkled softly when you moved it. And on top, white, with my name written in the same cursive handwriting as the label on the package. I opened it. The note inside said, "To the babysitter who stays all night. Thank you for taking care of what I love most." Sweet. Thoughtful. Except that the more I looked at the handwriting, the more familiar it became. Not just familiar, identical, to my handwriting, to the exact way I made my S's with a flourish at the end, the way I crossed my T's with a line that curved slightly upward, the way my O's were perfectly round, almost geometric. This was my handwriting, not similar, identical. But how? Why? Had the Vosses copied something I had written? But what? I'd never given them anything handwritten. Everything had been by text, by email, and this was the first time we had met in person. I went back to the note, looking for something else, and on the back, in smaller writing, almost like an afterthought. Remember, you are always being watched. Always. Horror crept up my spine like a spider. This wasn't a sweet gift. This was... what? A threat? A warning? I looked more closely at the cell phone. The fabric stars. Something stuck to some of them. Photos. Small ones. Printed on photo paper and carefully glued to the fabric. I peeled them off with trembling hands. And my stomach dropped. They were photos of me, with children. Not just any children, children I had cared for in previous jobs. There I was with the Morrison twins from 3 months ago, me with little Emma Chen from last month, me with the Rodriguez baby from 2 weeks ago, but I hadn't taken these photos. These were taken of me, without my knowledge. Strange angles, like someone spying from a door or window. Me distracted, focused on the children, unaware of the camera. And then, the worst, photos of my apartment, of my bedroom, of me sleeping. My window had no curtains, because I lived on the 3rd floor and thought no one could see, but someone had, with a telephoto lens probably, capturing intimate and vulnerable moments that should never have been photographed. What the hell? I whispered, the photos falling from my fingers. I needed to call someone. The police, Nafil, someone. I took out my phone, but then I heard a car in the driveway. A car door closing. Footsteps on the porch. The Vosses coming back. But they had just left 20 minutes ago. A knock on the door. Soft, almost shy. Delivery? For Voss? Delivery. Maybe Nafil had ordered something before she left and hadn't mentioned it. I moved toward the door, looking through the peephole. Man in delivery uniform, cap, shirt with a local restaurant logo I recognized, clipboard in hand. He looked legitimate, normal. I opened the door, just slightly, chain still on. Hello. I haven't ordered anything yet, but... Saffron Crane. He looked up from the clipboard, and his eyes, God, his eyes were empty, cold, like a shark's. How do you know my name? Because you've been waiting for me. Isn't that right? The package, the cell phone, the photos. It was all for you, so you would know that I've been watching. That I know you. That tonight, finally, I have you. I slammed the door shut, turning the lock, heart pounding, backing away. He knocked, harder. Saffron, open up. We need to talk about your future with me. I took out my phone, dialed 911. But before I could press call, another sound from upstairs. Garage door opening, car pulling in, garage door closing. What? The Voss couldn't be back. Not so soon. Unless... Footsteps. From the kitchen. Quick. Urgent. Nafili appeared. No ball gown. Just jeans and a sweatshirt. Hair down. Face pale and terrified. Is he here? She gasped. Evander. Is he here already? Who the hell is Evander? And what's going on? My ex, my stalker, him, Saffron. I'm so sorry. It wasn't about work. It was never about work. It's a trap. I'm bait. And you are. You're the victim. What? He's been stalking me for 2 years, since we broke up. Obsessed with making me pay for leaving him, and he found a way. He uses babysitters, the ones I hire, as targets to scare them, hurt them. To prove I can't even protect strangers, let alone myself, let alone Caspian. And you brought me here knowing this? My voice rising, hysterical. No, I didn't know. I didn't know he had plans for tonight. I thought he was still in California visiting his mother. But he texted me an hour ago, telling me he was back, that tonight would be special, that the new babysitter would be perfect. Crash. The front door. He had kicked it. The wood around the lock splintering. Another kick. The door giving way. Opening. Evander entered, no longer in his delivery uniform, now in jeans and a dark sweatshirt. Surgical gloves on his hands, and in his right hand, a syringe, a large one, with clear liquid. Nafil, honey, he said in a voice that was eerily calm. You came back. I knew you would. Because you can't help yourself. Always trying to save everyone, even when it puts you in danger. Evander, please, just go. The police are on their way. That's a lie. Your phone is in your car. I saw you leave it there. And the nanny. He looked at me. Still has hers, but she's too scared to use it. Isn't that right, Saffron? Too busy trying to understand why you're here, what you've done to deserve this. I haven't done anything, I said, my voice shaking. I don't know you. Exactly. You don't know me, but I know you. I've been studying you, following you, photographing you for weeks. Ever since Nephili mentioned your name as a possible nanny. And I learned everything. Where you live, where you work, how you sleep, what you look like when you think you're alone. The photos. All those photos. He had taken them. He had been at my window, watching me. For weeks. What do you want? I asked. Just to scare you. A little. Enough for Nephil to understand that she will never be safe. That no one around her will be safe, as long as I'm here, as long as I have access. Evander, this is crazy, Nephili said. You're going to prison. Again. Is that what you want? I prefer prison to this. Life. Without you. Without Caspian. Without my family. He moved closer. Syringe raised. But first, the nanny. I need to sedate her, so she doesn't interfere, while you and I have a conversation. He moved toward me, fast. Much faster than expected. I backed away, but he caught up, hand on my arm, iron grip, syringe approaching my neck. No, I lunged, not away from him, but toward him, surprising him, colliding with his chest with my shoulder, making him stagger. The syringe missed, stabbing air instead of skin. Nephili screamed, "Run! To the basement! It locks from the inside!" But I couldn't run. Caspian was upstairs, asleep, vulnerable. And if I ran, Evander might. Go after him. Use the baby as a hostage, as leverage. "Caspian!" I shouted. "I need to get Caspian." "I'll go." Nephili ran toward the stairs, but Evander moved, blocking her. No, no one is going for Caspian. He stays where he is, safe, while you and the nanny cooperate. Cooperate how? Nephili was in tears now. What do you want? Just time with you, to talk, like we used to, before everything got complicated. You violated the restraining order. You threatened me. That's not complicated. It's criminal. It's love, he roared. It's love you don't understand. You don't appreciate. While he was distracted yelling at Nephili, I moved. Towards the lamp on the table next to the sofa. Heavy, ceramic base. It could work as a weapon. I grabbed it, lifting it, balancing it. He turned just in time to see, but not to dodge. The base connected with the side of his head. Audible crack, ceramic breaking, immediate blood, warm, red, splattering my hand, my shirt. He fell, not unconscious but stunned, hand on his head. What? Bitch, what did you do? Nephili, go get Caspian now. She didn't wait. She ran upstairs. I heard, crying. Caspian awakened by the screams, by the chaos, by his mother picking him up, wrapping him in a blanket. Evander trying to get up, blood in his hair, on his face, but moving, still dangerous, still capable. I ran toward the stairs, finding Nephili halfway down, with Caspian in her arms, crying but alive. Okay. Basement, I said. Like you said. The basement was in the kitchen, door behind the pantry. Nephili led me, moving fast but careful with the baby. Behind us, footsteps, slow, shuffling, Evander recovering, following. Quick. I pushed Nephili toward the basement door. She went down first. With Caspian, I was last, turning to close the door. And there he was, 10 feet away. Face covered in blood, wild eyes, syringe still in hand. You can't hide there forever, he said. Eventually. You'll have to come out and I'll be waiting. The police are coming, I lied. Someone must have called. With all the noise. This house is isolated. The nearest neighbors are acres away, no one heard. No one's coming. He smiled, blood on his teeth. But that's okay. I can wait. I have all night. I closed the door, turned the bolt. Heavy, steel. The kind you'd install if you were afraid of someone, if you needed a panic room. I went downstairs. The basement was finished, with a small living room, sofa, TV, and in the corner, a telephone, landline, old, but working. Nephile was already there, dialing. 911. I need the police. There's a man in my house, my ex, violating a restraining order. He attacked us, me and the babysitter. We're hiding in the basement, but please hurry. She gave her address, answered questions, while I held Caspian, who had stopped crying, looking at me with big eyes, trusting, as if he knew I would protect him, that I would keep him safe. And upstairs, knocking on the basement door, constant, rhythmic, like a beating heart. Evander, trying, pushing, trying to get in. 10 minutes, said the dispatcher. Units are 10 minutes away. 10 minutes, 600 seconds. An eternity when someone is trying to get in, to hurt you, to whatever Evander was planning. The knocking continued. Then voices. Nephile. Honey, I just want to talk, promise. Just talk. Don't believe him, I said. Men like him, they always lie. I know. I've known for 2 years. She sat down on the sofa, head in hands. I thought it was over. When he moved to California, I thought I was finally safe. That Caspian was safe, but it never ends. Right? Never. It will end tonight, when the police arrest him, when he goes to prison for all of this. Maybe. Or maybe. He'll find a way out. Again, like last time. And he'll come back. And next time, maybe we won't be so lucky. Maybe there won't be a panic room, or a nanny to hit with a lamp, or time to hide. The tapping stopped. Silence, more terrifying than the noise, because silence meant he was planning, thinking, finding another way. Then, new sound. From above, not from the basement, but from the ceiling. Footsteps. On the first floor, directly above us. There's another entrance to the basement, I whispered. Right? Nephile turned pale. Window, small, in the other room. I forgot. I didn't even think. Is it closed? I don't know. Never. God, I don't know. The footsteps moving, toward where the window would be. Sound of something being forced, scraping, opening. It's coming in, I said. Through the window. We need to get out. Through the door, now, while it's distracted. But what if it's waiting? What if it's a trap? Then we fight, but we can't stay here, not with it coming in from the other side. Decision made. We went upstairs, Nephile with Caspian, me in front, looking for something to use as a weapon. Found a screwdriver in a toolbox by the door. Not much, but better than nothing. I unlocked the door, slowly, quietly, opening it inch by inch. Empty hallway, clear kitchen. Sound still coming from the basement. Him still struggling with the window. Now, I whispered. Front door, quick. We ran. Through the kitchen, hallway, toward the entrance. The front door still open where Evander had entered. Cold night air rushing in. We reached the porch. And then, lights, red and blue, flashing. Police cars. 2. Driving up the driveway. Faster than expected. Thank God, faster than expected. Here, Nephile waved. We're here, and he's inside, still inside. Officers came out, guns drawn. Where's the suspect? Basement, trying to get in through the back window. They went in. Quick, professional, shouting commands. Police, hands up! Come out with your hands visible! We waited outside, on cold grass, under stars that suddenly seemed too bright, too indifferent. Like the phone with the stars and the photos, the phone that was still inside. Evidence of weeks of stalking, of planning, of obsession. Minutes passed, then officers emerged, with Evander, handcuffed, still bleeding from his head, but alive, conscious, looking at me as he passed. "This isn't over," he said, low voice, just for me. "I'll always be watching, always." They put him in the police car, door closing on his threats, on his face, on his presence, and me. I collapsed, there on the grass, hands still shaking, his blood still on my skin, on my clothes. Evidence that I had fought, won, survived. Paramedics arrived, checking Caspian, Nafel. Me, finding minor injuries, bruises, scrapes, nothing that required the hospital, but enough to document. To prove: assault, attempted kidnapping, violation of a restraining order. A long list of charges that would ensure Evander wouldn't be out anytime soon. And detectives arrived, taking statements, photographing the scene, collecting evidence, including the cell phone, the photos, the note in my handwriting. "How did he get samples of your handwriting?" asked the detective. "I don't know. I never gave him anything handwritten. Previous jobs, where you left notes for parents." And then I remembered I always left notes about what the child had eaten, when they had slept, activities for the day, in notebooks that the families kept in Evander. He must have entered their homes or gained access somehow, photographing my notes, studying my handwriting, practicing until he could imitate it perfectly. The horror was complete, not just the photos from my window, not just the photos with children, but he had been in the homes where I worked, invading those spaces too, making nowhere safe, not his, not mine. The other nannies, I asked Nafele as we wrapped ourselves in blankets the paramedics had given us. The ones you said he used. What happened to them? One, the first one, 2 years ago, he just scared her. Left photos like today. She quit, moved out of state. Never pressed charges because she was afraid. The second one, a year ago. He broke into her apartment, waited in her closet. He confronted her when she got home. She fought back. She pushed him down the stairs. He broke her arm. He was arrested but got out on bail, and then he went to California. I thought it was over, that I was finally safe to hire help again. But I was wrong. He was just waiting, planning, tonight. Why didn't you warn me? Why take the risk? Because I'm selfish. Because I needed a babysitter. Because I thought, stupidly, that maybe he'd be in California, that maybe this time I'd be safe, and I put that above your safety. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. Should I be angry? Probably. But I was too exhausted, too traumatized, to feel anything except relief. That I was alive, that Caspian was okay, that Evander was in custody. We spent the rest of the night giving statements to the police, to detectives, to the district attorney who arrived because stalking cases were his specialty, recounting every detail, every moment, from finding the package to hitting Evander with the lamp to hiding in the basement. And when the sun finally came up around 6 a.m., when the house was finally cleared, when Nafele asked me to please accept full payment plus extra for the trauma, for the danger, for almost dying protecting her son, I accepted the money. Not because I deserved it, but because I needed it. Because student loans don't disappear just because you had a horrible night. Because rent is still due. Because life goes on even after it almost ended. But I told her I would never return. That I couldn't. That this house, this family, this baby I had held would always be a reminder of the night when technology that was meant to connect became a weapon. When a gift that was meant to be sweet became a threat. When a job that was meant to be simple became a fight for survival. And I drove home, with the sun rising over the Rockies, with blood still under my fingernails, with the memory of Evander's eyes, his smile, his promise. I'll always be watching. I changed my locks that day. I installed blackout curtains. I bought a security system I couldn't afford before. I reported every babysitting job I'd ever had, warning families to check their homes, their security systems, Because if Evander had broken into some, who knew what else he had done, what he had taken, what he had left behind, and I stopped working as a nanny. Completely. Because I couldn't. I couldn't look at a child, at a baby, and not see Caspian, not remember his weight in my arms as we ran, as we hid, while his mother desperately called for help that almost came too late. Evander went to trial 3 months later, convicted, sentenced to 12 years on multiple charges, enough to ensure that when he got out, I would be different, older, stronger, with a life I had built away from that night. But I know, with certainty, that keeps me awake. That 12 years pass, that eventually, he will be free. And maybe he will remember the babysitter who hit him with a lamp, who made him bleed, who sent him to prison. And maybe he will want to finish what he started that night with a syringe, with the intention of sedating, controlling, harming. Or maybe he will find another Nephilim, another woman to obsess over, another family to terrorize, other nannies to stalk. Because men like Evander don't change, they don't learn, they just wait, plan, find new victims, new ways, new gifts wrapped in silver paper with gold bows and notes in handwriting they copied, studied, perfected, to make you feel for a moment special, valued, appreciated, before revealing that it wasn't a gift, it was a trap, it was a threat, it was a reminder that in this digital age, in this connected world, privacy is an illusion, security is a myth, and sometimes the most dangerous gift is the one that seems most thoughtful, the star-studded cell phone, with photos stuck on like trophies, with a note in my handwriting promising gratitude, care, love, but meaning, something completely different, possession, control, warning, that he was watching, always watching, waiting for the perfect moment, to attack, to claim, to complete the obsession he had built, photo by photo, night by night, window by window, and I survived, fought, won, but victory tastes bitter when you know that he is still there, in his cell, counting the days, planning, promising, that someday, when he gets out, he will find me, he will finish what he started that night in Boulder, with a surprise package and a crying baby and a desperate mother and a babysitter who hit too hard, too well, making an enemy of a man who never forgets, never forgives, never lets go. And that is the real terror, not the night that passed, but all the nights to come, knowing that he's there, waiting, counting, promising that his eyes someday will find me again, and this time there will be no lamp, no closed door, no police arriving just in time, just me and him and unfinished business that began with a gift and will end, as he always planned, with control, possession, the end that he wrote in his mind long before that first photo, that first note, that first moment, when he decided that I, like all babysitters, was the perfect target for an obsession that never dies. It only sleeps, waiting to wake up and finish what it started. I remember that night as a wound that never fully heals, one of those stories that eats away at you and only comes to light in the early hours of the morning, when insomnia forces you to relive it all to keep from going crazy. It was my 3rd month in Asheville, North Carolina, a city that nestles in the Blue Ridge Mountains like a poorly kept secret, with its Victorian houses climbing fog-shrouded hills, an air that always smells of damp pine and broken promises. I was Briar Voss, 24 years old, with college debt hanging around my neck like a noose, and a resume that screamed desperate for anything. I came from a ghost town in Oklahoma, fleeing an ex who collected bruises like trophies, and the West seemed like a blank canvas to me, or so I thought. The nanny agency had placed me with the Hales, Quilon, and Serafina, names that sounded like characters from a gothic novel no one reads. Lovely family, they sold me. Adorable kids, dream home in the suburbs of Biltmore Forest. The pay was double what I earned serving stale coffee at an interstate diner, so I ignored the knot in my stomach when I signed the contract. They didn't know, or didn't tell me, that the Hales' paradise was a snake pit. I arrived that Friday afternoon, the October sun lazily filtering through the orange leaves that carpeted the gravel driveway. The house was a restored 19th century queen, 3 stories of dark wood with pointed turrets piercing the leaden sky, a porch wrapped in ivy vines that whispered in the wind, and leaded windows that reflected the world like fragments of a broken puzzle. Serafina opened the door. A woman in her 30s with black hair pulled back into a bun that looked like it was carved from obsidian, eyes as blue as the ice on a frozen lake, and a smile that didn't quite reach her lips. She wore a flowing wool dress, perfumed with lavender, that cheap supermarket scent that stings your nose and pretends to be luxury. Briar, what a delight. The children are going to adore you. Her voice was a polite purr, but there was a tremor in it, as if she were measuring each syllable for fear it would break. Quilon was in the study, a burly man with a graying beard and thick-rimmed glasses, muttering something on the phone about investments in the real estate market. He gave me a firm, almost painful handshake and handed me the spare keys. Serafina and I have a dinner downtown, the country club. We'll be back at midnight. Elowin and Thane are angels, but keep the doors locked. He didn't ask why. He just said it, as if it were a mantra. The children were waiting for me in the living room, a vast space with worn velvet sofas and a stone fireplace crackling with dying embers. 5-year-old Elowin was a little sprite with messy blonde braids and green eyes that sparkled like stolen emeralds. Her 3-year-old brother Thane was a whirlwind of brown curls and rosy cheeks who threw himself into my arms as if he'd known me all his life. Aunt Briar, cookies, Elowin squealed, dragging me into the kitchen by the hand, her little fingers sticky with honey. The house smelled of fake lavender everywhere, candles lit in every corner, air fresheners plugged into the outlets, as if Serafina were trying to drown out an underlying stench that no one mentioned. I made ginger cookies from a box, the oven humming like a dying insect, and we sat on the Persian rug, drawing clumsy dragons with crayons that Elowin swore really breathed fire. Thane laughed when I tickled him, his laughter a balm against the exhaustion that had been dragging me down since last week's double shift. For a moment, I allowed myself to believe it. This was normal. This was what I needed. A temporary family, stolen laughter, the warmth of their little bodies against my knees as I told them stories of cowboys on the prairies of Oklahoma, where the wind howls like wolves and the stars are so close you can touch them. But the clock on the kitchen wall, an old contraption with Roman numerals that ticked like a mechanical heart, kept reminding me that time was a thief. 7 turned into 8. Macaroni and cheese dinner devoured amid splatters and improvised songs about flying elephants. I put them to bed at 9, Elowin curled up with her worn teddy bear. She called him Mr. Bites because she had ripped out one of his eyes in a tantrum, and Thane sucking his thumb in his crib with blue-painted bars. I read them Where the Wild Things Are, my voice a hoarse whisper imitating waves and roars, and their eyelids closed like petals at sunset. I crept downstairs, my heart a little lighter, and poured myself a cup of tea from the porcelain teapot Serafina had left out. Chamomile with a touch of honey, sweet as a lie. The house was quiet, only the wind scratching at the windows and the distant drip of a faucet in the upstairs bathroom. I sat on the sofa, phone in hand, scrolling through photos of my previous life. My twin sister, Lark, on a Florida beach I never visited. The dog I left behind in Oklahoma, a stray mutt named Huck, who is now probably sniffing out storms alone. Curiosity got the better of me around 10:30, when the tea had grown cold in the cup and the silence became oppressive, like a weight on my chest. Killon's study was at the end of the first-floor hallway, a door ajar, letting out a trickle of amber light from a desk lamp. Just a peek, I told myself, justifying it with the excuse that I needed to know where the fire extinguishers were or something practical. I pushed the door open with my shoulder, the hinge creaking like a lament, and entered in orderly chaos. Shelves lined with leather-bound volumes on finance and architecture, a solid mahogany desk covered with papers arranged in neat piles, and a cracked leather wingback chair that smelled of old tobacco. The air was thicker here, heavy with the scent of lavender that wafted in from the hallway, but mixed with something acrid, like dried ink and stale sweat. I approached the desk, my fingers brushing the polished edge, and then I saw it. The center drawer, slightly ajar, like a sinful invitation. "Don't look," whispered my instinct, but curiosity was a sweet poison, and my hand was already on the cold brass handle. I opened it slowly, the drawer sliding with a whispering rub that made the hair on my arm stand on end. Inside, there were no bills or loose pens, but a bundle of yellowed papers, tied with a dried-out rubber band that snapped when I touched it, releasing a cloud of dust that made me cough. The first was a typed letter, dated a year ago. "Dear Agency, regarding Nanny Juniper Quilliam." My stomach lurched. Juniper was one of the girls from the agency, a shy redhead who had disappeared from the rotation without explanation. Below it was a handwritten list. The handwriting was Seraphina's, angular and shaky, as if each stroke took effort. Names: Juniper Quilliam, 09 to 14 to 23. Incident with Thane, unexplained bruises. Immediate dismissal, crossed out in red, thick as blood. Then, Marigold Finch, 03 22 24. Elowen reported bad dreams after her shift. Do not renew. Another red strike through and a note in the margin. Anonymous calls afterward. My pulse quickened, a dull thud in my temples as I turned the page. Sloan Whitaker, 070524, found asleep with pills in her pocket. Accident, crossed out. Isolde Bram, 081924, screamed something about shadows in the basement. Police involved. And at the end, in fresh ink, my name, Briar Voss, 110325, scheduled departure, 11:47 p.m. Just when the Hales would be back, the clock marking the end of my shift like a sentence. The world tilted, the air in the studio thick and suffocating, as if the walls were closing in. My hand shook as I held the sheet, the paper crackling like dry bones, and a cold sweat ran down my spine, soaking the t-shirt under my sweatshirt. What the hell was this? A list of terminations, or worse, a catalog of incidents that ended in ruin. I thought of Juniper, how she had left the agency with sunken eyes and a limp that no one mentioned. Of Marigold, now working at a seedy motel on the outskirts of town, drinking to forget. My stomach churned, a sour knot rising in my throat, and I dropped the list on the desk, the names dancing before my eyes like accusations. "You're paranoid, Briar," I told myself, my voice a broken thread in my mind. "It's just bad luck with nannies, eccentric rich people stuff." But the red mark on my name, not yet crossed out but pending like a guillotine, froze my blood. I glanced at the clock on the desk, 10:47. 1 hour exactly until my departure. Panic welled up slowly at first, a tingling in my fingertips, but it grew like a tide, drowning me in doubt. What about the children? No, they were sweet, innocent, but Thane's bruises, Elowen's bad dreams. What had Isolde seen in the basement? I ran into the hallway, my heart pounding against my ribs, and pulled my phone out of my pocket. My fingers slipped across the screen, leaving wet sweat marks as I dialed 911. "Emergency, what's going on?" A calm, professional voice answered. I'm a nanny in Biltmore Forest at the Hale House. Something's wrong. A list with names crossed out, my name with a time. I think I'm in danger." My voice broke, a muffled sob escaping, and the operator asked for the exact address. But then static. The phone beeped. No signal. I cursed, pounding the screen as if I could revive it, but nothing. Asheville and its mountains were a graveyard for radio waves. Residential areas like this one, nestled in wooded valleys, were dead zones, as the locals called them. I tried again, walking to the living room window to catch a bar, but the fog-smudged glass only reflected my pale face, eyes dilated like a cornered animal. 10:52. The ticking of the kitchen clock echoed in my head like a countdown. I stumbled up the stairs, checking on the children. Elowen was breathing softly. Mr. Bites clutched to her chest. Thane was sucking his thumb, a string of drool glistening on the sheet. "Everything's fine," I whispered, kissing their foreheads, but terror crept up my legs like thorny vines. I took the list down with me, crumpled in my back pocket, tangible proof that weighed like lead. The next hour was a purgatory of mechanical movements and growing paranoia. I tried to distract myself. I washed the dinner dishes, the hot water scalding my hands until they turned red, but every splash sounded like footsteps on the porch. I looked out the back window, the garden a sea of shadows, where the 100-year-old oak trees swayed like drunken sentinels. Had I seen a flash in the bushes, eyes reflecting the moonlight? I shook my head, laughing nervously at myself. Shadows in the basement, my mind murmured, remembering Isolde. No, nothing paranormal, just nerves. But the sweat wouldn't stop, a sticky veil that made me shiver. At 11:15, I went upstairs to check on the children again, my breath coming in gasps as I climbed the stairs as if fleeing from something. Allowance stirred, murmuring, "Mommy," and I sang her a southern lullaby that my grandmother taught me on thunderous nights. "Shenandoah, I long to hear you." My voice was a trembling thread, and for a second, the room was filled with false peace. But as I went downstairs, my phone vibrated, a text from Lark. "How's the gig going? Rich crazy people?" I tried to reply, but again, no signal. Panic coiled in my chest like a snake, squeezing until it hurt to breathe. 11:25. The kitchen clock ticked mercilessly, each tick a nail in my skull. I paced the living room, the hardwood floor creaking under my bare feet. I had left my shoes at the door, a mistake now that made me feel exposed, vulnerable. The fake lavender suffocated me, a cloying scent that stuck to my tongue like sweet poison. I thought about running away, just going out and running down the cobblestone street to the gas station on the corner. But what about the children? They were my responsibility. Their sweet little faces etched into my mind. "Stay," I ordered myself, but my body wouldn't obey. My hands were shaking so much that I dropped the teacup, the porcelain shattering on the floor with a crash that made me jump as if I'd been shot. I bent down to pick up the pieces, my fingertips cutting into thin slices, blood dripping red and accusory. Hot tears rolled down my cheeks, salty against my bitten lips, and a sob escaped me, low and animalistic. "Control yourself, Briar. Just one more hour." Then I heard it. The purr of an engine in the driveway, gravel crunching under slow, deliberate tires. My heart stopped, an icy void expanding in my chest. I glanced at the clock. 11:30. It wasn't the Hales. Their Audi was whisper quiet, and they always gave double-horned warning. This was something crude. An old pickup, perhaps. The exhaust spitting fumes that I could smell through the half-open window. I turned off the living room lights with a swipe of my hand, plunging myself into darkness, where only the moon painted silver streaks across the sofa. I crawled to the window, pulling the curtain back an inch, just enough to spy without being seen. And there it was, a rust-colored beat-up Ford, parked sideways, blocking the exit. A man got out of the driver's seat, tall, lanky, wearing a worn corduroy jacket and jeans stained with garden soil. Draven Quill. I recognized him instantly, the neighbor next door, the one Seraphina had mentioned in passing once, with a nervous laugh. A harmless guy, but persistent. I turned down his invitation last week. Persistent. The word stabbed me like a knife. I had seen his pickup truck lurking around, wilted flowers on the porch that disappeared at dawn, and once an envelope on the door with a heart scribbled on it. obsession. And now, here, at 11:30 when the house was alone, terror froze me in place, a block of ice preventing me from moving, from breathing. He circled the vehicle, whistling a tuneless tune, something country, about lost loves and bullets in the night, and approached the front door, with heavy footsteps that echoed in my skull. He knocked 3 times, loud as hammer blows. "Serafina, I know you're home. I saw the lights." His voice was syrupy, cloying, like stale honey, but with an edge underneath, a tremor of contained rage. My pulse was thunder in my ears, drowning out everything else, and I stumbled backward, tripping over the edge of the rug, falling to my knees with a dull thud. "Open up, please. I just want to help with the kids. I know you're alone tonight." How did he know? Had he been watching? Sweat ran down my temple, dripping into my open mouth, and a low groan escaped my throat. Above, a rustle. Elowen, perhaps, stirring in her bed. Silence. He knocked again. Harder, the door vibrating on its hinges. "Don't ignore me, Serafina. After all I've done. The flowers, the roof repairs no one asked for." His tone soured, the mellowness breaking into a growl. "Help. With the children." The list in my pocket burned like embers, names crossed out in red, and my name at the bottom. Was this the incident? Draven, the rejected neighbor, sneaking into the Hale routine like a virus? I jumped up, my knees protesting, and ran to the living room, pushing the 3-seater sofa against the front door with an effort that left me breathless, veins bulging in my arms. The furniture slid with a sharp squeak, scratching the floor, and I wedged it against the wood, the velvet tearing under my fingernails. It wasn't enough. He was strong, a failed lumberjack who cut trees for the city council. But it bought me time. His blows became furious fists against the door like a war drum. "I know it's not you, Serafina. There's a nanny, isn't there? Let me in. I can take care of them better than you." A sob choked me, hot tears blinding me, and I ran to the kitchen, searching for a knife in the wooden block. My hands were shaking so much that the handle slipped, falling with a clang that he must have heard. "There you are. I hear everything, honey." His laughter was a cackle seeping through the cracks, and the doorknob turned, testing the lock with a metallic click. Splinters flew. He was forcing it, his shoulder ramming, the wood groaning as if alive. Panic drove me up the stairs. 2 steps at a time, my heart a wild animal clawing at my ribcage. I woke the children with urgent whispers. "Alow and Thane, come with me, quick." Alowen sat up, sleepy eyes widening at the sight of my tears. "Mommy?" she asked, but I silenced her with a finger to my lips, wrapping her in a blanket as I lifted Thane, his heavy, warm little body against my shoulder. Thane whimpered, sensing my fear, and I rocked him as I went downstairs. No, upstairs, to the bathroom on the top floor, the only one with a window overlooking the neighboring roof. "Shh, it's a game of hide and seek," I lied, my voice a broken thread that was barely convincing. The bathroom was a sanctuary of white tiles and embroidered towels, the mirror reflecting my gaunt face, cheeks streaked with salty rivers. I locked the door, a pathetic click, and turned on the sink faucet full blast, the water roaring like a waterfall to drown out the cries already spilling from Thane. Alowen pressed herself against me, trembling, her little fingers digging into my arm. "I'm scared, Aunt Briar." "Me too, sweetheart," I confessed, kissing her hair that smelled of strawberry shampoo, and the weight of that truth crushed me, a muffled sob escaping as I held them on the cold floor. Downstairs, the banging ceased, replaced by a worse silence, a void seeping through the walls like smoke. I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate, circling the house, gravel crunching under boots, branches scraping against the kitchen window. My mind was a whirlwind. Had he broken a window, entered through the back door? The bathroom doorknob turned then, slowly, tentatively, the metal squeaking like nails on a chalkboard. "Come out, kids. Uncle Draven is here to play." His voice was a whisper now, intimate, chilling, seeping through the crack under the door. His breath, hot, stale with beer and tobacco, seeped in, a ghostly breath that made every hair on my body stand on end. Thane cried out, a high-pitched scream that the water couldn't quite muffle, and the doorknob shook violently, the door rattling in its frame. "Stay in there. I know you're the babysitter," Serafina told me, or she would if she were here. Lie. Pure lie. But terror paralyzed me. A freeze that left me kneeling, the children pressed against my chest, their sobs synchronizing with mine in a broken chorus. He knocked. Once, twice, the wood splintering at the top, fragments falling like dirty snow. I saw his eye then, a red bloodshot glint, pressed against the widening crack, and I screamed, a primal scream that tore my throat. There was no time. I grabbed the chrome towel rack, a heavy tube that came loose with a desperate twist, and used it as a battering ram against the bathroom window. The glass shattered into a shower of shards that cut my palms, warm blood dripping onto the tiles, but I didn't stop. I rammed again, the frame creaking, and the gap opened to the night air. The icy mountain air lashed my face, burning lungs already aflame with suppressed tears. "Get out," I ordered the children, pushing Ella in first, her little feet on the windowsill, a shove that sent her tumbling onto the neighbor's sloping roof, a muffled scream escaping her. Then Thane, wrapped in his blanket like a bundle, his weight pulling at my lacerated arms as I passed him through. Pain, burning stabs in my hands, but the doorknob broke behind me, splinters flying like deadly confetti. I jumped, legs first, the glass tearing my thighs into gushing gashes. The impact against the slippery tile roof sending me face first. I rolled, the world spinning in a blur of stars and pain, and reached the children, dragging them to the edge. Draven's laughter drowned out by the distance, or perhaps by the roar of the still rushing water, a mocking echo that haunted me as we climbed down the rusted gutter, nails scraping metal until they bled. The neighbor's garden was a mess of weeds and abandoned tools. We crawled through thorny hedges that tore my skin like claws, the children sobbing against my neck. We ran, or limped, my legs a burning fire, toward the main street, the cold asphalt biting my bare feet. The list crinkled in my pocket, a crumpled piece of evidence I swore I would not let go. Distant sirens, perhaps alerted by a sleepless neighbor, cut through the fog. But the horror lingered, his eye in the crack, his honeyed voice promising help. The Hales would arrive soon, and I, Briar Voss, would bear the scars, physical and unseen. But that night, in that house perfumed with fake lavender, the terror was real, palpable, a reminder that lists are written in red ink for a reason.